Chapter 29. After 10 minutes, Su-Kei just stood there like a statue and didn't make a move. Now, not only Qin Xian, who was waiting for Li Changsheng to be beaten up, but also the onlookers started to talk about it. What's going on? What's going on? Su-Kei, do something. Why are you in a daze? Qin Xian couldn't help but shout. However, Su-Kei didn't seem to hear him. He just stood there and stared at Li Changsheng with a wry smile. His expression was strange, as if he was afraid. But he was Su-Kei, nicknamed Madman Su. Even the black boxing champion was respectful to him. Looking at the whole Qingzhou, except for his master Qin Hao, even Qin Yi, the young master, was respectful to him. Who could make him afraid? Many people were puzzled. Qin Xian and the other rich kids were even more puzzled. They found it unbelievable. Su-Kei, do something. Qin Xian urged once more. Do something? Su-Kei smiled wryly and looked at his left hand, which was still in a plaster cast. A few days ago, his left hand was almost destroyed. He still remembered what happened that day. Seeing that Su-Kei didn't dare to do anything, Li Changsheng shook his head and said, "Okay, apologize to me and leave with your young master." Hearing Li Changsheng's words, the onlookers didn't know how to react. What's going on? This is Su-Kei, Madman Su. How dare he talk to crazy Su like that? Is there something wrong with this young man's brain? Just when everyone was puzzled, they saw Su-Kei take the initiative to bow to Li Changsheng with his hands folded in front of his chest. I apologize to you on behalf of my master and Qin Xian. Hearing that, everyone was dumbfounded. No one could understand why Madman Su, who could call the wind and summon the rain in the Azure province, would apologize to a young man. This was too inconceivable. Seeing that, Qin Xian couldn't believe it. Su-Kei, what do you mean? You are my uncle's subordinate. You're here to help me. How can you admit defeat? Not only Qin Xian, but Zhao Bingyu and the other rich heirs, including Jiang Tao and Su Ying, were also confused. They had no idea what was going on. Su-Kei didn't answer Qin Xian. He just silently retreated behind Qin Yi. Their attitude was very clear. They would not do anything to Li Changsheng. Little brother, say something. Look at how badly your brother has been beaten up. You have to seek justice for me. Tell your Fist King and you and your subordinates to teach him a lesson. Pack up. Qin Yi looked at Li Changsheng with a wonderful face. It's good enough that he doesn't teach me a lesson. How am I supposed to teach him a lesson? What? Qin Xian couldn't react in time. Little brother, what do you mean by that? You're the crown prince of Qingzhou. Aren't you just a kid who knows some martial arts? Isn't it as easy as squashing an ant? Qin Yi's words made Qin Xian a little confused for a moment. The Qin clan was tyrannical in the Qing province like a local tyrant. His younger brother had been a living devil since he was young. He was someone who dared to pierce through the heavens. Now he was actually showing weakness in front of people of the same age. How is this possible? It was simply like a fantasy story. Little brother, tell me why. Your brother has been beaten up. How can I just let it go like this? Qin Xian was a little anxious. He had never been beaten up in his life. If he didn't vent his anger, he would have no face to see others in the future. You still want to take revenge on me? Li Changsheng suddenly said. You asked Qin Yi if he dares. Does he dare? When the three words came out, everyone present was shocked. How bold was she to actually dare to say the words, "Do you dare?" to the crown prince of Qing province. Qin Yi, if you don't want to lie in the hospital again, take your idiot brother and get out of the bar. At this time, everyone present was confused. Situ, Nan suddenly thought of something. It was rumored that Qin Yi was beaten up a few days ago and was in the hospital. Even Su-Kei, Qin Hao's most capable assistant, had his left hand broken because of protecting Qin Yi. Thinking of Su-Kei's performance just now, and then thinking of Qin Yi's appearance. Is that person the young man in front of me? Situ Nan's heart suddenly jumped, and his face became ugly. At this time, Qin Xian also seemed to think of something, and his eyes showed fear. As Qin Yi's cousin and Qin Hao's nephew, he naturally knew the details of the matter better than others. For a moment, he fell into silence. All right, Mr. Li. You've injured members of my Qin family twice. I'll settle this score with you. Qin Yi took a deep breath, snorted coldly, and then turned and walked out of the bar. Qin Xian was supported by two of his subordinates and followed behind. Zhao Bingyu wanted to leave as well, but Li Changsheng grabbed him by the collar and kicked him. Zhao Bingyu's body fell heavily to the ground. Mercy! Zhao Bingyu was so scared that he hurriedly knelt on the ground. He was really scared. Didn't he see that even the two brothers of the Qin family had admitted defeat? At best, he was a henchman beside Qin Xian. How dare he offend Li Changsheng? Today, this bar damaged a lot of tables and chairs. The money is on you. You go to the bar manager and pay the money, and then you can get out. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Zhao Bingyu didn't dare to disobey. If Li Changsheng didn't beat him, he would pray. As for the money, it was nothing for a rich second generation like him. Okay, I'll go. Zhao Bingyu hurriedly ran to the bar, as if he had been pardoned. Meanwhile, Li Changsheng turned his gaze to the punks who had been beaten up. What do you want to do? The leader of the punks was so scared that he stuttered. The fear that Li Changsheng left in him was too deep, and there was already a psychological shadow. You guys took the initiative to cause trouble first. After being beaten up by me, you still dare to look for people. If I don't teach you a lesson, you don't know how many people you will harm. Li Changsheng snorted coldly and clenched his fist, making a cracking sound. The punks were so scared that they trembled. We are young Master Situ's people. Qin Yi is afraid of you. Our young Master Situ is not afraid of you. The punks looked at his Master Situ, Nan, as if asking for help. Indeed, the Situ family was the only family in Qingzhou that dared to challenge the Qin family. Although they didn't know how Li Changsheng made Qin Yi leave with his tail between his legs, they firmly believed that their master, Situ Nan, would make the decision for them. Is that so? Li Changsheng looked at Situ Nan with a smile that wasn't a smile and said faintly, Young Master Situ, we meet again. After I went back yesterday, I've been wondering if I went too easy on you. Sure enough, seeing how lively you are today, I feel that there's a need to do it again. Situ Nan's face instantly changed. He subconsciously squeezed his legs and stared at Li Changsheng. Although he wanted to take revenge for himself and beat up Li Changsheng, he looked at the lineup behind him. Even Su Ke wasn't Li Changsheng's opponent. If his subordinates went up, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Finally, he took a deep breath and suppressed the thought of revenge. He snorted coldly. Li, let's wait and see. After that, he turned around and left with his subordinates. At this moment, everyone present was dumbfounded. This scene was simply too bizarre, too inconceivable. Qin Yi's departure was puzzling enough. Now even Situ Nan left. What was going on? At this moment, the scene fell into silence. Jiang Tao, Zhang Xiaofeng, Yang Fan, Su Ying, and Zhang Mingming all looked at Li Changsheng in disbelief. Their hearts were full of questions. Chapter 30. Until Situ Nan and Qin Yi left for a long time, the crowd still couldn't react. After a long time, Jiang Tao asked cautiously, Lao Si, what's going on? The people around also pricked up their ears. It was really strange. They were all guessing the identity of this young man. It was incredible that he could scare away the two most arrogant devils in Qingzhou. That Qin Yi was beaten up by me 2 days ago and was hospitalized. And that Situ Nan, I went to the library and just saw him doing something bad to a girl, so I taught him a lesson. After Li Changsheng finished, the crowd understood and looked at Li Changsheng with awe. He is the mysterious person who injured Qin Yi, and Situ Nan was also taught a lesson by him. Many people felt shocked. This news was too shocking. However, after the shock on Jiang Tao's face, he showed a deep worry. Lao Si, Qin Yi, and Situ Nan said something when they left. The forces behind each of them are very powerful. Do you have any countermeasures? Countermeasures? Li Changsheng smiled slightly. I'll deal with them accordingly. Whether it's the Qin family or the Situ family, they dare to provoke me. My fist is not a vegetarian. When Li Changsheng said this, he was full of confidence. Indeed, he didn't put the Qin family and the Situ family in his eyes. But when these words fell into the ears of Jiang Tao and the people around him, they were a bit arrogant. Hey, fourth brother, you're still thinking too simply. It's true that you're very powerful, and even Man Su is no match for you. But in this day and age, it's not enough to just rely on martial arts. No matter how hard your fists are, can they block bullets? Whether it's the Qin family or the Sidu family, they're all forces that dare to kill. Jiang Tao's words made the faces of the women who admired Li Changsheng become ugly. The onlookers obviously thought of this, and their eyes gradually changed from worship to sympathy, regret, and pity. What should we do? Zhang Mingming was the most anxious. You beat Qin Yi and hurt Situnan. This is really tricky. No, I'll go back and find a way to reconcile. Even though Jiang Tao said so, he still wasn't confident. Although the Jiang family was considered a wealthy family, it was still a far cry from the Sidu family and the Qin family. After this incident, everyone lost their interest in playing. They left the bar one after another and took a taxi back to Qingzhou University. I'll go home and look for my father. I'll ask him to think of a way to resolve this crisis. Jiang Tao patted Li Changsheng's shoulder and drove his BMW away from the school. Li Changsheng wanted to stop her, but before he could say anything, he felt touched. He and Jiang Tao had known each other for less than 2 days, and it was already very rare for Jiang Tao to be willing to do this for him. As for Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan, both of them were probably a little embarrassed after being beaten up today. They each found an excuse. One said that he wanted to go out to buy something, while the other said that he wanted to go to the internet cafe to look for information because his computer's internet speed was too slow. Li Changsheng naturally wouldn't expose him. In the end, only Li Changsheng returned to the dormitory alone. As soon as he entered the dormitory, he lit a cigarette. Before he could take 2 puffs, he heard a knock on the door. When he opened the door, he saw a familiar figure. It was Wang Dongsheng. Wang Dongsheng's arm was in a cast, and his face was somewhat pale. His expression made Li Changsheng somewhat puzzled. What's wrong? You're still not convinced? You still want to compare notes with me? Originally, he thought that he was lying in the hospital. He didn't expect that this guy would be discharged so quickly. However, after thinking about it, he didn't necessarily have to stay in the hospital to recuperate. I don't want to compare notes with you. Wang Dongsheng had a cold temperament, but at this moment, he looked like he wanted to say something but hesitated. If you have something to say it quickly. Li Changsheng didn't have a good expression on his face. He had lived for tens of thousands of years and received many disciples. Which one of them didn't feel lucky to be a student? However, these guys dared to question him. I came here to ask Sir to accept me as your student. Saying such a sentence seemed to require a great deal of courage, but after saying it, Wang Dongsheng heaved a sigh of relief. Be my student? Are you sure you've thought it through? Li Changsheng didn't lift his eyelids. He just casually threw the Zhonghua cigarette on the table to Wang Dongsheng. Wang Dongsheng didn't take the cigarette. He just nodded heavily and said in a very solemn voice, I've thought it through. I want to be your student. You're right. My previous kung fu was rubbish. As my student, you have to listen to me. You have to think it through. It will be too late to regret. When Li Changsheng said these words, there was a chill in the air, which made Wang Dongsheng's heart tremble for no reason. However, he took a deep breath and firmly said, I will never regret it. Good. Li Changsheng nodded. At this time, his cell phone suddenly rang. Hello? Who is it? Li Changsheng saw that it was an unfamiliar number. He felt a little strange. There weren't many people who knew his cell phone number. It's me. I'm Chen Ligua. It's like this. An old rival of mine found out that I hired you as the coach of the fighting team. He might make a fuss about it. I'm calling to inform you. I hope you can be mentally prepared. I'm afraid you can't continue to be the coach of the fighting team. What? Li Changsheng's face turned ugly when he heard this. He had just accepted Wang Dongsheng as a student, and he couldn't be the coach anymore. This was 2F*** up. What reason did the other party use to stop me from being the coach? Is it because I went through the back door? That's not it. Chen Ligua sighed. I hired you through the formal external hiring process. However, my rival's reason was that you don't have a teaching qualification certificate. Qualification certificate? Is this difficult? Oh no. Chen Ligua shook his head. It's easy for me to get you a qualification certificate. However, I'm afraid that once you have a qualification certificate, they'll use it as a reason to test you. Test. Li Changsheng smiled. Then let them test me. I can handle any test. Mr. Li, I know you're capable. However, you don't know that my rival was born in a martial arts family. He knows too many powerful masters. I'm afraid that they'll use the test as an excuse to harm you. You were introduced to me by Elder Chu. I can't let you get hurt. Don't worry. Li Changsheng interrupted Chen Ligua. You have to have confidence in me. On the other end of the phone, Chen Ligua let out a long sigh. All right, I'll get you a qualification certificate now. However, I still want to give you a piece of advice. That old rival of mine is a poisonous snake. You can't win against him at all. Chapter 31. After hanging up the phone, Li Changsheng looked at Wang Dongsheng from head to toe. Now, you are officially my student. Remember, to be my student, you have to have 3 requirements. First, you have to be obedient. Second, you have to be obedient. Third, you still have to be obedient. Do you understand? Understood. Wang Dongsheng replied very loudly. Good. Li Changsheng nodded. Although Wang Dongsheng was a young master from a rich family, he had a stubborn and arrogant personality, but this kind of personality was very much liked by Li Changsheng. Because this kind of straightforward personality, without any tricks, was what Li Changsheng liked. To be my student is your good fortune from your previous life, Li Changsheng said. At this time, there was a dong-dong sound of footsteps outside the door. Li Changsheng thought that his 3 roommates had returned. However, when the other party was so tall that he had to bend over to enter the door frame, Li Changsheng saw clearly that it was another member of the combat team, Wei Hu. Wei Hu was like his name. He was very muscular. Just by standing there, he gave people a sense of oppression. However, after entering the door, he greeted Li Changsheng very respectfully. Greetings, coach. Student Wei Hu is here to apologize. Wei Hu, this guy spoke in a muffled voice. He looked like a big fool. However, the members of the combat team knew that this guy was not stupid at all. If he was stupid, he would not have taken the initiative to apologize to Li Changsheng so quickly. Okay, I will accept you as my student. Class will officially start tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. You are not allowed to be late. Otherwise, this coach's fist is not to be trifled with. Li Changsheng subconsciously clenched his fist. Wei Hu and Wang Dongsheng felt a chill in their hearts. They had already experienced Li Changsheng's methods. This skinny body definitely contained a terrifying amount of power. Wang Dongsheng, your arm is injured. I have a formula here. Go to the pharmacy and buy these herbs. Boil them into a paste and then apply it externally. I guarantee that your arm will be as good as new in 3 days. Okay. Wang Dongsheng nodded. Li Changsheng really took out a piece of paper and wrote a bunch of Chinese medicine on it. He marked the dosage and passed it to Wang Dongsheng. Wei Hu, who was beside him, couldn't help but ask, Coach, the doctor said that Wang Xiao's arm won't recover for at least 3 months. 3 days? Isn't that an exaggeration? Wang Dongsheng also found it hard to believe, but he didn't dare to question Zhang Xin's words. Although this coach was very strong, strength did not equate to medical skills. Even if this coach was really skilled in medicine, it would be impossible for him to heal his injuries in 3 days. Li Changsheng smiled confidently. 3 days is nothing. As long as you follow my prescription, you should be fine in a day. Do you know what immortal medicine is? This is an immortal recipe. Just this recipe alone is enough to buy 10 streets in the capital's 3rd ring road, where every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. Hiss! Wei Hu and Wang Dongsheng gasped at the same time. 10 streets in the 3rd ring road. How much would that cost? Wasn't this coach bragging a little too much? Li Changsheng didn't seem to notice the suspicion in their eyes. He waved his hand and said, Go do whatever you need to do. I'm going to rest. After that, he added, Oh right, one of you can tell me Jiminwen's whereabouts. As her coach, I should pay her a visit since both of you have returned to the team. Well, Coach Li, you wouldn't do anything inappropriate to 1-1, right? Wei Hu asked hesitantly. Indeed, the reason why he rushed in to fight Li Changsheng that day was because he heard rumors that Li Changsheng had done something to Jin Wenwen. Although Li Changsheng was now officially his coach, he saw Jin Wenwen as his sister. If he told this coach about Jin Wenwen's whereabouts, he would do something worse than a beast. What are you thinking about? Li Changsheng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. I just want to talk to her and let her return to the combat team. After all, the three of you will be participating in the competition together. That's good. Wei Hu let out a long breath, then shook his head and said, I don't know where she is. You don't know? Then why are you thinking for so long? F***ck off. Li Changsheng kicked Wei Hu's butt, and that 2-meter-tall body was kicked out of the door. Originally, he wanted to kick Wang Dongsheng as well, but seeing his hand in a cast, he showed mercy in the end. After the two left, Li Changsheng lay on the bed and had a good sleep. When he opened his eyes, he still didn't see Jiang Tao and the other two. So he stretched and planned to go to the supermarket downstairs to buy something as a sacrifice to his 5 Viscera temple. Who knew that just as he left the dormitory, he would be blocked by a figure. Li Changsheng, I have something to talk to you about. Let's go somewhere else to talk. The person who came was none other than one of the 4 campus beauties of Qingzhou University, Chu Meng, Elder Chu's granddaughter. If you have something to say, just say it. Where do you want to go? I didn't do anything wrong, so I'm not afraid of ghosts knocking on my door. I'm also not afraid of being seen by others. Li Changsheng said indifferently. Hearing this, Chu Meng couldn't help but be angry. This guy's skin was really thick. You're not afraid of being seen by others, but I'm not. I'm one of the 4 campus beauties. However, thinking about what she had to do, she wasn't in the mood to argue with Li Changsheng. She directly said, listen to my advice. Drop out of school immediately. Leave Qingzhou University. What? Li Changsheng was stunned. If it wasn't for Chu Meng's cold expression, he would have touched her forehead to see if her brain had been fried or if she'd suffered some kind of trauma. Why did she ask him to drop out of school so soon after he arrived? I'm doing well in school. Why should I drop out? Did you hit Qin Hao's nephew, Qin Xian, in the bar today? Yes. Li Changsheng nodded. Do you work as a spy? Otherwise, how can you be so well-informed? You don't need to know how I know. I just want to tell you something. First, you hit Qin Hao's son, then you hit Qin Hao's nephew. You've completely angered Qin Hao. Even with my grandfather's warning, Qin Hao doesn't want to hold back anymore. He wants to make a move on you. Today, I heard that Qin Yi has already joined forces with several masters of the Taekwondo club. He said that he wants to take revenge on you. And this move has the support of Qin Hao. That Qin Yi has always been ruthless. Over the years, he broke many people's legs and made them into vegetative states. So, I advise you to drop out of school quickly. Otherwise, you won't have a good ending. So that's how it is. Li Changsheng listened and only smiled slightly. Okay, I know. However, I don't care about Qin Yi's garlic. As he said that, he turned around and walked around Chu Meng. Don't care? You're so arrogant. Chu Meng wanted to say something, but Li Changsheng was already a few meters away. She was so angry that she could only fiercely stomp her feet. Damn you, I was kind enough to save you, but you didn't listen. When Qin Yi comes to take revenge on you, you'll regret it. Chapter 32. Stop right there. A shout came, but it wasn't from Chu Meng's mouth. A petite, rather gentle woman appeared in front of Li Changsheng, blocking Li Changsheng's way. Hey, why is this woman so familiar? Li Changsheng murmured in confusion. You bastard, you want to wipe your mouth clean after peeping? The woman said angrily. Li Changsheng suddenly remembered that this was the girl he saw when he woke up. Li Changsheng's face showed a bit of embarrassment, although he didn't mean it at the time. After all, he looked at her body. It's a misunderstanding between you and me. Who knew that the girl was unmoved after hearing it? She just looked at Li Changsheng coldly. You don't want me to be responsible for you, do you? Li Changsheng asked cautiously. You wish. Zheng Chan couldn't help but spit. Li Changsheng, although I don't know what's the relationship between you and Chu Meng's grandfather, I want to say that you don't deserve my sister Chu Meng, so don't be a toad. Me and Chu Meng? Li Changsheng was stunned. What's going on? Chu Meng hurried over. Lil Chan, what are you talking about? I'm not talking nonsense. Zheng Chan said loudly. Chu Meng, your grandfather refused the marriage proposal of Qin Yi's family. In fact, he wanted to marry you to Li Changsheng. Is this what your uncle told you? Chu Meng frowned. It turned out that Zheng Chan's uncle worked for the Qin family, so Zheng Chan knew a lot about the two families. Yes. Zheng Chan nodded and looked at Li Changsheng coldly. It is said that the reason why you and Grandpa Chu know each other is because of a long time of fate. Grandpa Chu must owe your elders a favor, so you want to use this favor to fly to the branch and become a phoenix. So you want to marry Chu Meng, right? Obviously, both the Qin family and Zheng Chan misunderstood his relationship with Chu Meng. Is that really the case? Even Chu Meng's expression turned ugly. Li Changsheng, no wonder my grandfather told me to care about you. You're really a villain. Chu Meng's face turned cold. Li, did you hear that? Chu Meng cares about you because her grandfather asked her to. She doesn't like you at all. You don't have the looks, you don't have the family background, and you want to marry Chu Meng just because the Qin family didn't prosper? Keep dreaming. If you still have any sense of shame, then immediately drop out of Qingzhou University. Otherwise, Li Changxing chuckled. What kind of blunder was this? What else? Otherwise, I will make sure you die a horrible death. You, Li Changsheng could not help but chuckle. If these words were said by a ferocious man, there would be some deterrence. But now, a delicate beauty said that she would make him die miserably. This really made Li Changsheng feel very speechless. You still don't believe me? Zheng Chan chuckled coldly. My boyfriend is one of the 4 young masters of the university, Situ Nan. The Situ family is not any weaker than the Qin family. I hope you will remember my warning. Don't make a mistake. Who are you talking about? Situ Nan? Li Changxing's eyes widened. What? Are you scared? Zheng Chan raised her small chin, her eyes filled with disdain. In her eyes, a country bumpkin like Li Changsheng would be scared in front of the young master of the Situ family, who was one of the top young masters in Qingzhou. But after saying that, she seemed to have thought of something. She pointed at Li Changsheng and warned, Kid, let me tell you, if you dare to tell anyone about what happened on Jiuhuang Mountain that day, I won't let you go. What happened on Jiuhuang Mountain? Li Changsheng asked, even though he already knew the answer. Bastard. Zheng Chan clenched her small fists and gritted her teeth in anger. She actually raised her hand to hit Li Changsheng. That's enough. Chu Meng quickly stopped Zheng Chan. Sister Chu Meng, I'm doing this for your own good. Zheng Chan huffed angrily. This kid is asking for a beating. Why don't I ask Situ Nan to teach him a lesson? Situ Nan can't teach him a lesson. Chu Meng said. She knew that Situ Nan had just been beaten up by Li Changsheng. Chu Meng knew how strong Li Changsheng was when it came to fighting. How is that possible? Situ Nan has many friends, and his bodyguards are all very strong. Sister Chu Meng, don't worry. I will definitely chase this toad away for you. As she spoke, she glared at Li Changsheng fiercely before turning to leave. After Zheng Chan left, Chu Meng looked at Li Changsheng with a complicated expression. It doesn't matter if what Zheng Chan said was true or not, and it doesn't matter if my grandpa wants to set us up. I can tell you very clearly that it's impossible. You don't meet my standards for a boyfriend. With that, she turned to leave. Li Changsheng sighed. He thought to himself, are all women so self-absorbed these days? Thinking back to the time when so many beautiful women were fighting to throw themselves at him, he was never moved. Shaking his head, Li Changxing walked to the supermarket. As for Chu Meng's reminder, he didn't take it to heart at all. What Qin Yi, what Situ Nan, even Qin Hao in Li Changxing's eyes was just a slightly bigger ant. Coming out of the supermarket, Li Changsheng was about to go straight back to the dormitory when he suddenly felt that there was a pair of eyes hiding in the dark following him. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but reveal a somewhat evil smile. He turned around and walked towards the small forest behind the dormitory. Li Changsheng walked in front, and a figure quietly followed behind him. Suddenly, the figure stopped in her tracks because the person she was following had suddenly disappeared from her line of sight. Where'd he go? This figure wasn't anyone else. It was Jean Wenwen from the fighting team. Jean Wenwen's face was full of suspicion. She was clearly staring at Li Changsheng just now. What's going on? How can a living person disappear in a thin air? Of course a living person can't. It's just that your stalking skills are too trashy. At this time, a faint voice came. Jean Wenwen was so scared that her body tensed up. She suddenly raised her head and saw Li Changsheng on the tree branch above her head. He was swinging his legs and looking at her with a teasing gaze. You? How did you get on a tree? Jean Wenwen subconsciously took a step back. Li Changsheng jumped down from the tree and clapped his hands. I say, Beauty Jean, why are you following me? Don't tell me you like me. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? Do you think I like you? Jean Wenwen snorted. Who's following you? This school isn't owned by your family. I can go wherever I want. Is that so? I think you're clearly up to no good. You know you're no match for me, yet you still dare to follow me. If I'm not wrong, you brought some kind of weapon to deal with me. Hurry up and hand over the weapon. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I won't do anything to you in this grove. There's no weapon. Jean Wenwen shook her head like a rattle, but she was obviously a little guilty. Humph, you're still denying it. Your body is bulging. If you don't hand it over, I'm going to search you. Don't you dare, Jean Wenwen said furiously. There's nothing in this world that I, Li Changsheng, don't dare to do. With that, Li Changsheng pounced on Jean Wenwen. Soon, Li Changsheng's smug laughter and Jean Wenwen's curses echoed in the grove. I'll help. Chapter 33. Li Changsheng couldn't help but gape at the pile of things that Jean Wenwen had thrown out. Lime powder, stun batons, strong flashlights, anti-pervert spray. There were more than a dozen of them, densely packed together. Damn, you're planning to use all these on me? Sure enough, a woman's heart is the most vicious. Li Changsheng shouted exaggeratedly. Jean Wenwen stood up from the bushes with disheveled clothes, her beautiful eyes almost spitting fire. It was the first time in her life that she had been violated by a man like this. Although Li Changsheng did it for her body, this abominable guy had almost touched her body all over. It was too hateful. That feeling made Jean Wenwen tremble all over, as if 100 claws were scratching her heart, and countless ants were scurrying in her blood. She felt numb like an electric current, but no matter how she resisted, she was no match for Li Changsheng. She couldn't understand how there could be such a terrifying person in the world. Okay, I'll confiscate these things first. With that, Li Changsheng put the pile of things into his pocket without waiting for Jean Wenwen's consent. Wait a minute. Leave that USB flash drive for me. Jean Wenwen looked anxious. Isn't it just a USB flash drive? Why are you in such a hurry? Li Changsheng picked out the USB flash drive from the pile of things. Jean Wenwen was about to take it when she saw Li Changsheng put it into another pocket. Since you care so much, there must be a secret. With that, he said to Jean Wenwen, if you want it, come find me at the combat room at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that the contents of the USB flash drive won't be leaked. You're shameless. Jean Wenwen was so angry that her face flushed red, and she subconsciously swung her fist at Li Changsheng. In response, Li Changsheng easily grabbed her arm and threw her over his shoulder to the ground. Jean Wenwen was in so much pain that tears streamed down her face. You bastard, I'm going to kill you. At this time, Li Changsheng had already turned and walked out of the grove. How dare you offend me? Jean Wenwen, I won't let you go. I'll tear you into pieces. Woo woo. The sun was setting in the west. It was already dusk. When Li Changsheng returned to his dorm, it was still empty. He sacrificed his internal organs. The things in the supermarket were indeed not nutritious, but Li Changsheng did not rely on them to replenish his energy. In the dead of night, Li Changsheng came to the top floor of the dormitory building. Usually, no one would come to this place. He sat cross-legged on the rooftop and circulated the 9 transformations of God and devil to absorb the spirit chi that was not abundant in the world. After waking up, Li Changsheng found that the spiritual chi between heaven and earth was extremely thin, and the progress of his cultivation was very slow. The 1,080,000 pores all over his body opened and operated, attracting the spiritual energy of the entire school. When he opened his eyes at daybreak, he couldn't help but shake his head in disappointment. It's still too slow. It seems that I have to set up a spirit gathering array. Otherwise, the surrounding spiritual energy will not be enough to support my cultivation. After patting off the frost on his body, Li Changsheng returned to the dormitory, which was still empty. Those three guys actually didn't return for the whole night. Jiang Tao will probably have little hope of going back to beg his father. Li Changsheng shook his head. Through the contact, he also understood that Jiang Tao's family was at most a small boss. Jiang Tao's father was only worth a few billion yuan, while Qin Hao was a veritable local tyrant in Qingzhou with a net worth of several billion yuan. The two simply could not be compared, not to mention whether Jiang Tao's father would be willing to plead for his son's roommate. Even if he was willing, he would not be able to say anything in front of Qin Hao. Shaking his head, Li Changsheng suppressed these messy thoughts and looked at his watch. It was past 6 o'clock. Hence, he ran a lap around the field and went to the breakfast stall at the school gate to have a bite. When he returned to school, it was almost 8 o'clock. Hence, he walked towards the gymnasium. When he arrived at the gymnasium, he saw Su Jing was also there. Hearing the footsteps, Su Jing raised her head. When she saw that it was Li Changsheng, she could not help but coldly snort. The school's leaders should have looked for you. I don't know what method you used to settle it. Perhaps it was your connections. However, even if you pass the school's leaders, all the members of the fighting team will go against you. What's the point of being a coach in name only? Did you come here early in the morning just to mock me? Li Changsheng threw the magazine he bought from the roadside on the coffee table. He crossed his legs and placed his hands behind his head while looking at Su Jing, who was sitting beside him. I say, Teacher Su, you should have seen my strength. Teaching those students is not a problem at all. Yes, it's not a problem. You sent them all to the hospital. I came so early today to tell you a piece of news. Vice Principal Shun Donghai has just returned from his field trip. He heard about what happened to you and felt that you are not qualified to be the coach of the fighting team. However, there are people in the school committee who support you. Hence, after some research by the school's higher-ups, they decided to conduct an assessment on you. The assessment content is that you will be given half a month to train the members of the fighting team. Their physical fitness and strength are all recorded in detail. Let's see if you can improve them in half a month. Speaking up to this point, Su Jing shook her head. Not to mention that half a month is a very short time. Even for the top coaches in the country, it is not easy to improve the strength of the team members. Moreover, some of the team members are not loyal to you and will not accept your training at all. If Vice Principal Shun knows about this, there is no need for the assessment in half a month. You can resign now, unless you let Wang Xiao and the others return to the team in 3 days. However, this is obviously impossible. The three of them are too stubborn. I know them too well. Let alone 3 days. Even if it is 3 months, they will not return. Li Changsheng smiled faintly. They will return today, and it will not take half a month. In 10 days, I will double their fighting strength. Whether it is strength, speed, or comprehensive fighting quality, they will not be inferior to the top fighters. Li Changsheng said very confidently, but Su Jing kept shaking her head and sneering. Although I don't know Kung Fu, I know how to fight. It's impossible to double someone's combat power in 10 days. Also, young Master Wang's arm was broken. He should still be lying in the hospital. Why would he come to class today? Also, Wei Hu and Jin Wen, I know their tempers. They will not come back. I think you did not wash your face this morning. Your brain is not awake yet, right? You are still talking in your sleep. Is that so? Li Changsheng smiled faintly. At this moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard. The door of the fighting room opened. Wei Hu and Wang Dongsheng walked in one after the other. They walked in front of Li Changsheng and respectfully said, "Good morning, coach." Su Jing was completely dumbfounded. She just said that they would not come, and they pushed the door open and walked in. This was tantamount to a loud slap in the face. Wang Dongsheng, your arm? Su Jing saw that Wang Dongsheng's arm was not in a plaster cast. She could not help but open her eyes wide. This is all thanks to Coach Li, Wang Dongxing bowed to Li Chongsheng with gratitude. Coach Li, your prescription is amazing. I went back to boil it according to your request yesterday and applied it. When I woke up, I felt that my arm was completely healed. What? Su Jing felt like she was dreaming for a moment. Even Li Chongsheng's eyes showed a hint of doubt. The medicine he made was an immortal prescription, but must be combined with spiritual herbs to maximize the effect. The spiritual energy in this world was thin, and spiritual herbs were even rarer. Therefore, he said that it would take 3 days to heal, but it was healed overnight. This was a bit unscientific. Chapter 34. Come here, let me take a look. Li Chongsheng stood up and raised his right hand, only to find that his arm had completely recovered. Even if his prescription used herbs that were old enough, it would take a whole day to recover. However, Wang Dongsheng didn't even take half a day to apply the medicine from yesterday. Could it be that the raw materials used to decoct the herbs for him were elixirs? Elixirs were different from ordinary herbs. They had the effect of regenerating bones and muscles. Especially for cultivators, they were simply indispensable treasures. Where did you buy the herbs for the plaster yesterday? Li Chongsheng asked. I bought them from a pharmacy called Baichao Tang on Xinglong Street in the west of the city. Wang Dongsheng answered truthfully. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with Coach Li? No. Li Chongsheng shook his head. Su Jing, who was next to him, was completely stunned. You mean you used the medicine made by Coach Li, so you recovered in one night? Wang Dongxing nodded. Wei Hu, who was next to him, also echoed. Yesterday, Wang Xiao and I went to get the medicine together. Coach Li, you are amazing. Now, even Su Jing looked at Li Chongsheng in a completely different way. How is it, Miss Su? Wang Dongsheng and Wei Hu are both back. This proves that I'm not bragging. Hearing Li Chongsheng's words, although Su Jing was also very curious about Li Chongsheng, she was still unconvinced. Jean, Wenwen hasn't come back yet. I know her better than any of you. She won't just... Before she finished speaking, the door of the combat room was pushed open again. Jean Wenwen, wearing jeans, strode in. Jean Wenwen, why are you back? Su Jing was completely dumbfounded this time. Based on her understanding of Jean Wenwen, she shouldn't give in so quickly. Give me back the USB flash drive. Jean Wenwen walked to Li Chongsheng and stretched out her hand directly. Isn't it just a USB flash drive? Li Chongsheng took it out and threw it to Jean Wenwen directly. You didn't look at the things inside, did you? Jean Wenwen asked suspiciously. No, of course not. Li Chongsheng said with a guilty conscience. He returned to the dormitory and inserted the USB into Jiang Tao's computer. As a result, he saw the scene of blood spurting out. Although Jean Wenwen usually looked enchanting and cold, she had a hobby, which was to take selfies. Moreover, she liked to take private photos. There are thousands of photos in the USB drive, which made Li Chongsheng's heart beat faster. If I had known, I would have made a copy. Li Chongsheng mumbled. What did you say? Jean Wenwen's eyes immediately spat fire. I'll fight you to the death. As he spoke, he lifted his leg and lashed out at Li Chongsheng. Jean Wenwen, you don't have a good memory. Li Chongsheng shook his head. In fact, when Jean Wenwen lifted her leg, she regretted it in her heart. Thinking of Li Chongsheng's means yesterday, if she would do it again in front of everyone, she would really have no face to see anyone. Fortunately, Li Chongsheng didn't do that. He just grabbed her ankle and used all his strength to throw her out. Even so, after Jean Wenwen landed firmly on the ground, she still felt uncomfortable. Her face was red, and she cursed bastard, shameless, and so on. However, she didn't dare to rush up again. Jean Wenwen, you fought and made a scene. Now, it's time for you to return to the team. Li Chongsheng suddenly took a step forward, and his voice sounded like a clap of thunder. Jean Wenwen felt as if the voice directly appeared in her mind, and Li Chongsheng's figure instantly became taller. At this moment, she had a feeling of being in a trance, as if Li Chongsheng was a god, giving her directions. Now, are you willing to return to the fighting team and be my student? After Li Chongsheng finished speaking, Jean Wenwen nodded subconsciously. However, After nodding, she suddenly sobered up. That strange feeling just now completely disappeared, and the only thing in front of her was Li Changxing's smiling face. "What did you do to me just now?" Jean Wenwen's face was full of shock, because she felt as if she had been controlled just now. However, she didn't know that Li Changxing had used the orthodox Buddhist lion's roar, and he had also added some mind bewitchment to it. This was also because he had no ill intentions towards Jean Wenwen. Otherwise, if he wanted Jean Wenwen to die immediately, Jean Wenwen would have done it without hesitation. "I didn't do anything. You were probably captivated by my powerful charm." "Nonsense." Jean Wenwen was furious. "You shameless villain. You must have done something to me. My nod just now doesn't count." As she spoke, Jean Wenwen turned around and walked out of the combat room. She didn't dare to stay any longer. This coach was too evil, making her feel unsure. "Since you've just agreed to join the combat team, you have to listen to my orders now." "You want me to listen to your orders? Don't even think about it. Keep dreaming." Jean Wenwen quickened her pace and walked outside. However, she had just taken 3 steps when her vision suddenly blurred. She saw Li Changxing blocking her way. "Since you've already returned to the combat team, you can't disobey my orders. Otherwise, you'll be punished." Jean Wenwen was just about to say something when she felt the air beneath her feet. Then, she was sent flying by Li Changxing as if she was riding on clouds. Bang! She fell heavily to the ground. "You dare to hit me." Jean Wenwen got up from the ground angrily and rushed towards Li Changxing. "You're my student. Even your life is mine." Li Changxing snorted coldly. "How dare you hit the coach? Looks like I have to teach you a lesson." Li Changxing moved his feet and directly grabbed Jean Wenwen's flying leg. With a strong pull, she fell to the ground with a plop. At the same time, Li Changxing grabbed her shoulder and twisted it hard. Like pulling a carrot, he sent Jean Wenwen flying again. "Do you know your mistake now?" Just as Jean Wenwen landed, Li Changxing came in front of her. I bang. After another merciless hit, Jean Wenwen rolled 3 meters away. "Do you admit defeat?" Another 3 times in a row. Jean Wenwen's body was about to fall apart. This time, without waiting for Li Changxing to speak, she directly raised her hand and said, "I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat, okay?" Sob sob. Jean Wenwen, who had always been known for her coldness in the combat team, was actually beaten to tears. On the side, Wang Dongsheng and Wei, who subconsciously swallowed. They thought to themselves, this coach really doesn't know how to be gentle with a girl. Su Jing was completely dumbfounded. This guy was too ferocious. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel scared. Thinking of how she had ridiculed him time and time again. If she were to do the same, she shuddered. Coach Li, I still have something to do. I won't delay you any longer." Su Jing forced a smile and was about to slip away. "Wait a minute." Li Changxing suddenly spoke. Su Jing's body stiffened. She turned her head and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than bitterness. She asked, "Coach Li, do you have any other orders?" "From today onwards, for 10 days, get someone to send 3 meals a day to the combat room. I want to give the 3 of them special training." Chapter 35. I now officially announce that your 10-day special training has officially begun. During these 10 days, no one is allowed to leave the training room. Do you understand? Li Changxing looked at the 3 students standing in front of him with his hands behind his back. Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, and Jean Wenwen. These 3 people were all fighting maniacs selected from tens of thousands of students in Qingzhou University. Each of them had extraordinary strength. "Coach, I have a question," Wei Hu said in a low, muffled voice. "Say it," Li Changxing said coldly. At this moment, he was shrouded in a layer of cold aura, like an instructor in the army. His eyes were very cold, with a murderous aura, which made the 3 of them feel afraid. "We are all students. If we don't leave here for 10 days, what will happen to our classes?" Hearing Wei Hu's words, Li Changxing smiled slightly. "Don't worry. I will explain the situation to President Shun. You can focus on your training." "All right, let's not talk nonsense now. Next, I'll teach you an ancient body refining technique called the 12 Heavens Technique. Learning this technique will help you become a peerless expert. Whether it's a boxing champion or a black belt in Taekwondo, you'll be able to defeat them with just a finger. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, except for Jin Wenwen, Wei Hu and Wang Dongxing's eyes were burning with passion. Although they suspected that Li Changsheng was bragging, this coach was indeed powerful. It was something they wished for more than anything to learn his unique skills. Even Jin Wenwen snorted disdainfully on the surface, but secretly pricked up her ears. She swore that when she learned this Bulsh Astros T coach's kung fu, she would give this guy a good beating. Otherwise, it would not be Jin Wenwen style. Okay, now follow my movements. Li Changsheng first did a set of simple movements, which did not seem difficult. The three of them were a little suspicious, but they still learned according to Li Changsheng's movements meticulously. Half an hour later, they had familiarized themselves with the movements. Then I will increase the difficulty next. Li Changsheng used half a day to teach them more than 10 sets of movements. At first, it was very simple, but later on, it became more and more difficult. The movements were simply designed to torture people. If they wanted to do it, their bodies would have to endure extreme pain. All right, all of you should first memorize these 10 or so moves. The 12 Days Martial Arts has a total of 12 difficulty levels. What you're learning is the simplest. Each difficulty level has 10 to 30 moves. All you need to do today is to master the first difficulty level. In the next 10 days, as long as you can reach the 4th level of the 12 Days Martial Arts, I can guarantee that you'll stand out in the upcoming national fighting competition. Is it really that godly? Jin Wenwen curled her lips. Indeed, the few movements that Li Changsheng taught them didn't seem to have any magical effects other than causing pain to their bodies. It was more like a modified version of gymnastics. They really couldn't see how it could improve people's strength. I'm your coach. Don't ever let me hear you doubt me again, or you'll have to bear the consequences. Li Changsheng said coldly. Your training method is unscientific, and you don't even let others talk about it. Jin Wenwen said unhappily. Humph. This time, Li Changsheng didn't talk nonsense with her at all. With a flash of his figure, Jin Wenwen had already fallen to the ground with a plop, seeing stars from the fall. As the famous Cold Queen of Qingzhou University, Jin Wenwen had already been thrown to the ground by Li Changsheng for the umpteenth time today. You can choose not to believe me, but remember, don't say it out loud. Especially don't let me hear it, because in this fighting room, my words are the imperial edict. There's no room for doubt. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, he pointed at the camera in the corner of the fighting room. You guys practice well. I'm going back to the dormitory to rest. Remember, this camera is always watching you. If you dare to slack off after I leave, you'll have to bear the consequences. After saying that, he directly left the fighting room, leaving Wei Hu and the other two looking at each other with bitter smiles on their faces. This coach seems to be very domineering. Why do I feel like I've boarded a pirate ship? Wei Hu muttered. Wang Dongxing and Jin Wenwen, who had just gotten up, nodded their heads in agreement. Stop complaining. Hurry up and train. With Coach Li's personality, if he sees through the surveillance and finds out that we're not training well, we'll have a hard time. Thinking of Li Changsheng's methods, the three of them felt a chill in their hearts. Whether or not they believed that those strange movements could help them improve their strength, they all started to train meticulously. For an entire day, Li Changsheng didn't appear. Early the next morning, when Li Changsheng came to the fighting room, he was stopped by Su Jing. Coach Li, the results of your training will be assessed in 10 days. I can understand that you're anxious, but you locked them in the fighting room and didn't let them out. Moreover, Jin Wenwen is a girl, and you actually attacked her several times. I suspect that you have violent tendencies. Shut up, woman. Li Changsheng said coldly. You're only a teacher in charge of the fighting team's logistics. You only need to be responsible for delivering food on time every day. You should stay out of other things. After that, Li Changsheng turned and walked directly into the fighting room. Su Jing was so angry that she stomped her feet. Arrogant guy. Wait until the assessment, you'll cry. Su Jing said angrily. She was a great beauty. When had she ever been slapped in the face? Walking into the fighting room, Wei Hu and the other two sat on the sofa to rest. After Li Changsheng came in, he said coldly, "All of you, get the hell out of here and train. If I see you slacking off again, don't blame me for being rude." After being shocked by Li Changsheng's methods yesterday, even Jin Wenwen didn't dare to be negligent and hurried to train. "Today, I'll teach you a few new movements." This time, the movements were even weirder, even more inhuman. It was even more exaggerated than ancient yoga. This was especially true for Wei Hu, who had a strong build. Doing those movements was almost killing him, causing him to cry out in pain. But Li Changsheng didn't care. As long as he couldn't complete the movements, he would be beaten up. In the end, Wei Hu was in so much pain that he almost fainted several times. But these three people were able to stand out from tens of thousands of people. They were all tough people, and they persevered on the second day. On the third day, Li Changsheng continued to let them learn new movements. At this time, even Jin Wenwen, who was the most flexible, was in so much pain that she wanted to die. Su Jing couldn't bear to see this. She felt that Li Changsheng was deliberately torturing the students. She raised objections several times, but in the end, she was directly kicked out of the fighting room by Li Changsheng. On the fourth day, when Li Changsheng appeared, the three of them were lying on the ground, each of them as if they were crippled. "Get up and train." Li Changsheng looked like a demon instructor. The three of them could only grit their teeth and start doing those movements. An hour later, Jin Wenwen was the first to complain. "Coach Li, we've been practicing these movements for 3 days, and it's completely useless. I think you're just trying to take revenge on us." Li Changsheng ignored Jin Wenwen's dissatisfaction. Instead, he upgraded their training. Half a day later, Wei Hu, who was the most muscular, finally couldn't take it anymore. He directly showed his violent side, throwing his sweat-soaked shirt to the ground and shouting, "This training is simply torture. It's completely useless. I'm not practicing anymore." Indeed, Wei Hu's bones were the toughest. The movements that Li Changsheng taught him were simply like being cut to pieces. Hearing Wei Hu's words, Jin Wenwen, who already had a problem with Li Changsheng, was the first to raise her hand in agreement. "I'm not practicing either. What 12 days technique? It's just garbage. It's completely useless." Wang Dongsheng didn't say anything, but the desire in his eyes was clearly the same as Wei Hu and Jin Wenwen. He felt that this training method was completely useless. Chapter 36. I want to resist. I refuse to accept this cruel training anymore. Wei Hu straightened his neck and said loudly. Although he felt a little guilty facing Li Changsheng's gaze, he really couldn't stand this hellish life. "Me too," Jin Wenwen echoed loudly. This kind of training was simply torture. She was in so much pain that she wanted to die. She did not want to continue, because she felt that if she continued, not only would she not be able to improve her strength, but even her physical and mental health would be affected. This coach was simply a devil. "What about you?" Li Changsheng looked at Wang Dongsheng. Wang Dongsheng opened his mouth and finally spoke. "I'm not afraid of hardship, but I don't think this kind of training will help improve our strength." Indeed, after 3 days of training, apart from being covered in injuries, their physical fitness didn't seem to have improved. "You want to end the training, right?" Li Changsheng's gaze swept across the faces of the three. "Yes." Wei Hu was the first to nod. Then Jin Wenwen. In the end, even Wang Dongsheng acquiesced. "But I said that after becoming my students, it's not up to you." A figure flashed, and then Wei Hu's huge body flew out. Then Jin Wenwen, and then Wang Dongsheng. In less than a second, all 3 students were lying on the ground. "Now, do you still want in the training?" "Li Changsheng, you're too much." Wei Hu's angry roar came from the combat room. Bang! He had just gotten up when he was sent flying again by Li Changsheng's whirlwind kick. "Is this still too much?" Wei Hu's eyes widened. This time, Li Changsheng directly grabbed his ankle, and his 2-meter-tall body was swung up into the air. He flew more than 10 meters and hit the wall. Bang! The sound of him falling to the ground made the entire combat room tremble. Wang Dongsheng and Jin Wenwen, who had just gotten up, subconsciously swallowed their saliva. Too vicious and merciless. I think Coach Lee's looking out for us. Let's continue the training. Jean Wenwen was the first to speak. Wang Dongsheng, who was next to her, was surprised at first, but then he reacted and echoed, "I agree with Wenwen." Only then did Li Chongqing reveal a satisfied smile. At this moment, Wei Hu crawled up from the ground with a pained expression. Li Chongsheng glanced over and was so scared that his legs went soft and he fell to the ground with a plop. "I agree too." Wei Hu stuttered. "Very good. It's good that you can understand my good intentions." Li Chongsheng smiled faintly. "Then let's continue with the training." Outside the door, Su Jing witnessed everything and couldn't help but shake her head. Her eyes revealed pity as she muttered, "This Li Chongsheng is simply crazy." With that, he turned around and left. Over the next few days, they began their dark training. On the 6th day, Li Chongsheng officially announced the start of the real training. Wei Hu and the other two immediately despaired. In Li Chongqing's words, the previous deadly training was only a warm-up. Sure enough, the following movements were extremely difficult. Under the immense pain, Wei Hu was the first to pass out. In response, Su Jing directly suggested sending him to the hospital, but Li Chongqing refused. He slapped Wei Hu awake and warned him that if he dared to pass out again, he wouldn't give him food. Wei Hu was in complete despair. The high-intensity training day and night for the past few days had consumed a lot of his body functions. His appetite had skyrocketed every day. He felt like he could eat an entire cow. Not giving him food was worse than taking his life. Therefore, no matter how painful the training was, Wei Hu gritted his teeth and persevered, not daring to pass out. On the 7th day, even Wang Dongsheng finally couldn't take it anymore and passed out. In response, Li Chongsheng directly poured a few pails of cold water on his face to wake him up. Then, he let him continue with the training. Women's bodies were naturally more flexible than men's. It wasn't until the 8th day that Jean Wenwen passed out. In response, Li Chongsheng still poured 2 pails of cold water on her. Just like that, they were woken up after passing out. Sometimes, when their movements weren't up to standard, Li Chongsheng would also kick them until they couldn't get up. When they woke up, they would be subjected to the cruelest punishment. In the end, no matter how much pain they were in, they didn't dare to let themselves pass out. This was because passing out didn't mean that they could escape the training. Instead, they would have to accept an even crueler punishment. You've reached the 4th level of the 12 sky art paintings. Not bad. On the 9th day, Li Chongqing nodded. Then, he asked Su Jing to keep an eye on their training while he left the combat room and took a taxi to Xinglong Street. Li Chongqing knew that Su Jing sympathized with the students, but he wasn't afraid that Su Jing would let them relax after he left. This was because Li Chongqing had already said that he would look at the camera when he returned. If they dared to slack off in their training, he would give them double the punishment. That day, Wang Dongsheng bought herbs from the 100 Herb Hall on Xinglong Street and consumed them. After half a day, his broken arm recovered. Li Chongsheng remembered it in his heart. He felt that the reason why Wang Dongsheng could recover so quickly after taking the medicine was very likely because of this medicine shop. He took a taxi to the medicine shop of the 100 Herb Hall and found that the decorations here had a bit of an antique flavor. Even the signboard was made of wood. When he walked in, he didn't see anyone, but a strong herbal smell hit him in the face. "Is the shopkeeper here? Buy medicine." Li Chongsheng shouted inside. He heard the sound of footsteps, and then a very slender girl walked out. She was about 18 or 19 years old and was very beautiful. However, her face was cold and gave people a kind of indifference that kept people 1,000 miles away. Looking at the decorations of the medicine shop, he originally thought that it would be an old man with a white beard. He didn't expect it to be a beautiful girl. "Excuse me, are you the owner of this medicine shop?" Li Chongsheng asked tentatively. The boss has something to do and left. He will be back in a while. I am his sister. If you have anything to say, just tell me. The girl walked to the counter and looked at the account book on it. She didn't raise her head and said, "I want to get these medicines." Li Changsheng took out the prescription that he gave to Wang Dongsheng that day and put it on the counter. When the girl saw the prescription, she suddenly raised her head with a strange look in her eyes. "Where did you get this prescription?" "Of course it was made by a doctor." Li Changsheng shrugged his shoulders. "Which doctor? What's his name?" The girl's tone was very cold. She kept asking with a bit of an aggressive momentum. "What does this have to do with you?" Li Changsheng glanced at the girl's body with a playful look. From the moment the girl appeared, Li Changsheng sensed that she was not an ordinary person because he felt the circulation of true qi in her body. Although it was very weak, it was very pure. "Look away, or I will dig out your dog eyes." The girl frowned, and a trace of fierceness flashed in her eyes. "Are you a descendant of Mount Shu or Kunlun sect?" Li Changsheng suddenly asked. The girl was stunned. Obviously, she was a little surprised. But then, a cold aura spread out from her body. A soft sword turned into a silver light in the air and stabbed at Li Changsheng's throat. Chapter 37. Qing Shui. "Stop!" A loud voice came. A stone flew from a distance and deflected the soft sword when it was about to hit Li Changsheng's throat. A middle-aged man came over and looked at the woman with blame. Then he apologized to Li Changsheng. "I'm sorry. My sister is spoiled and almost hurt you." Li Changsheng smiled and said, "It's okay. You must be the shopkeeper of this medicine shop. I happen to have a prescription here. See if you can get these herbs." Li Changsheng took out a piece of paper from his pocket. It was full of the names of herbs. The middle-aged man seemed to be surprised by Li Changsheng's calmness. When he took the white paper in Li Changsheng's hand and saw the names of the herbs, his face suddenly changed and his eyes showed some surprise. "Brother, this guy doesn't look like a good person. He's not here to buy herbs at all. He might be that old bastard's man." With that, the woman raised the soft sword in her hand again. "Don't be rude." The middle-aged man looked at Li Changsheng deeply. Seeing that Li Changsheng's face didn't change from beginning to end, he said, "These herbs are scarce. I'll try to get them. Come back in half a month." After that, he turned and walked into the medicine shop. Li Changsheng's face showed a thoughtful expression. From the woman's swordsmanship just now, Li Changsheng could already be sure that she was from the Shushan sect. The middle-aged man who came later was even stronger. He was no less than a martial arts master in the world. He deliberately took out the prescription. All the herbs recorded on it were spiritual herbs that were more than 500 years old. If an ordinary medicine shop saw these herbs, they probably wouldn't have heard of them. It seems that the brother and sister are also people with stories. Now I can be sure that the herbs they gave Wang Dongsheng must be spiritual herbs. That's why Wang Dongsheng was able to recover overnight. But why do they do this? I like to see what tricks you're playing. Li Changsheng smiled and turned to leave. A long time after Li Changsheng left, the sound of conversation came from medicine shop. "Brother, why did you stop me just now?" This person recognized our identity. It's hard to guarantee that he won't tell that old bastard. Although your worries are not without reason, you might be able to easily kill him. However, we cannot afford to offend the person behind him. "Who's behind him?" Ding Qingxue asked doubtfully. "A few days ago, when that student brought me that prescription, I discovered that it was very likely to be an immortal prescription. So I purposely gave him many spirit herbs as ordinary herbs in order to lure out the person behind him. Although the person who came today looks like an ordinary person, the prescription he took out is even more terrifying. The herbs on the prescription are all rare spirit medicines. Moreover, if the medicine is refined according to the prescription, it is very possible to refine a spirit pill. It's obvious that whether it's the student a few days ago or the young man who came today, there must be a super powerful person behind them. The two of them are just pawns used by the other party to test us. We can't afford to offend such a person. Since he didn't directly attack us, it means that he doesn't take us seriously. Why don't we return the favor and get all the spirit herbs he wants for him? Maybe we can use this opportunity to make friends with the senior behind the two of them. A strong person who can casually take out an immortal prescription. If he is willing to help, then our chances of revenge will be much higher. Li Changsheng didn't know that the brother and sister guessed that there was a strong person behind him. At this moment, He had already left Xinglong Street and returned to Qingzhou University. In the training room, Wei Hu and the other two were still numbly repeating their movements. These days, they had undergone dual physical and mental training. At this moment, each of them was like a walking corpse. They constantly reached the limits of their physical and mental bodies, but they didn't even dare to faint. Seeing Li Changsheng come in, Su Jing hesitated for a moment, but still said, "Coach Li, I can understand your anxiety about the assessment, but if you continue to train like this, there will be a big problem." "What big problem can there be?" "It's just that their strength has increased by 3 times compared to before," Li Changsheng said. "Huh, 3 times?" Su Jing couldn't help but add sarcastically, "What I see is that they can suddenly die at any time." "Is that so?" Li Changsheng clapped his hands. "Come here." The 3 people who were training were still repeating their movements, as if they didn't hear him. "Come here." Li Changsheng spoke again. This time, his voice was like thunder. Only then did the 3 people wake up from their dream and obediently walk to Li Changsheng and stand in front of him. "Now, I announce that you have practiced the 12 days technique to the 4th level. You can rest now. Go back and have a good sleep to replenish your body and recover to your best condition. Then, report to the training room tomorrow morning. I will test your bodies." "What? We can rest?" Wei Hu and the other 2 were a little stunned. They wondered if these words came from the mouth of this demonic coach. "That's right. You can rest now." After receiving Li Changsheng's nod of confirmation, the 3 people were so excited that they were about to cry. This hellish training was finally over. Then, the 3 people were afraid that Li Changsheng would go back on his words, so they rushed out of the training room one after another. After the 3 people left, Su Jing said coldly, "Test their bodies tomorrow. I want to see what results you can get from these few days of training." The next morning, Li Changsheng was the first to arrive at the combat room. Then, Su Jing walked in with a cold expression. She didn't speak to Li Changsheng. She just crossed her arms in front of her chest and waited quietly. A few minutes later, Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, and Jin Wenwan appeared one after another. "There is a strength testing machine and other equipment over there. Teacher Su Jing, please test it for you." After Li Changsheng finished speaking, he crossed his legs and squinted his eyes, as if he didn't care about the results of the test. Wang Dongsheng and the other 2 walked with Su Jing to the gravity machine to test their strength with a suspicious look on their faces. After 9 days of continuous training, their spirits were about to collapse. Yesterday, they went home and had a good night's sleep. When they woke up in the morning, they felt refreshed. However, they didn't think that these 9 days of hellish training would make their body stronger like Li Changsheng did. 10 minutes later, the 3 finished their test. When Su Jing compared the comprehensive data on the computer with their previous records, the 3 people, including Su Jing, were all stunned. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Because whether it was Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, or Jin Wenwan, just in terms of strength alone, they were more than 3 times stronger than before. Their muscle strength was even more exaggerated, reaching 5 times stronger than before. "It's only been 9 days. It's only been 9 days. Everyone was stunned. I said that if you guys train these 12 days to the highest level, each of you will be a peerless expert. This is just child's play." Li Changsheng's faint voice came. This time, no one questioned. Everyone's eyes were filled with fanaticism. In just 9 days, their strength had improved to such an extent. If they really practiced this body refining technique to the highest level, it would be unimaginable. This time, Li Changsheng didn't need to say anything. The 3 people took the initiative to start training. As long as they weren't fools, they should know the value of such a magical thing. Li Changsheng nodded with satisfaction. He knew that even if he didn't supervise them in the future, he would train them well. Su Jing, next to him, stood still like a wooden sculpture for more than 10 minutes before she reacted. She walked to Li Changsheng and stammered, "Coach Li, how did you do it? Can I treat you to a meal?" Chapter 38. Forget about the meal. I'm not hungry, Li Changsheng said with a slight smile. Seeing Wang Dongsheng and the others consciously training, He knew that he didn't need to supervise them. So he directly turned around and left the combat room. Behind him, Su Jing was so angry that she stomped her feet and gritted her teeth. This bastard, this is the first time this great beauty took the initiative to invite someone to a meal, and I was actually rejected. Humph. Is he trying to play hard to get? I'm just curious about the mystery of the training method. What a toad. At this moment, Li Changsheng had already walked out of the gymnasium and was planning to go straight back to the dormitory, but he was blocked by a group of people. You must be Li Changsheng, Coach Li. The leader was an old man who looked to be in his 50s, with a head full of white hair, wearing a pair of civilized glasses, and holding a walking stick made of Phoebe Jinan wood. Refined scum. This was the first thought that surfaced in Li Changsheng's mind. May I ask who you are? Li Changsheng asked doubtfully. I'm Shun Donghai, the executive vice president of Qingzhou University. As he spoke, he took the initiative to reach out his hand to Li Changsheng. So you're the bastard who wanted to mess with me, Li Changsheng said casually, and Shun Donghai's face immediately darkened. The rest of the people glared at Li Changsheng, especially one of the 1.8 strong men. He clenched his fist, giving people a sense of oppression. Shun Donghai laughed dryly twice. Coach Li's words are really humorous. Say it. Why did you stop me halfway? Looking at your scheming appearance, it can't be a coincidence, right? Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Shun Donghai's cheeks twitched. Why is this bastard's words so unpleasant? He took a deep breath, suppressing the urge to beat up Li Changsheng, and said with a fake smile, I want to discuss something with Coach Li. Tomorrow is the day of Coach Li's assessment. During the assessment, the higher-ups will be present. I hope Coach Li can cooperate with me and tell the higher-ups that the reason you were able to become a coach at Qingzhou University was because of Principal Chen Ligua. If Coach Li can do as I say, I am willing to give Coach Li a reward of 100,000 yuan after the matter is done. What if I say no? Li Changsheng sneered. If you say no, do you see this gentleman beside me? He is a real boxing champion. His golden belts are hanging all over the wall. His greatest achievement was killing a cow with one punch. If you don't do as I say tomorrow, I will ask you to have a match with him on the grounds that I doubt your strength. By then, this boxing champion of mine may accidentally cripple you. Are you threatening me? Li Changsheng continued to sneer. You can think of it that way. Shun Donghai narrowed his eyes slightly. Well, in that case, I promise you. But how can 100,000 yuan be enough? At least 300,000 yuan? Shun Donghai didn't seem to expect Li Changsheng's attitude to change so quickly. He was a little stunned, but he quickly smiled and said, I like smart people like you. But I can't give you 300,000 yuan all at once. I will first transfer 150,000 yuan to your card as a deposit. After the matter is done, the other 150,000 yuan will immediately be transferred to your account. Okay. Li Changsheng told Shun Donghai the bank card number that Chu Yaotian gave him. In front of Li Changsheng, Shun Donghai transferred 150,000 yuan to Li Changsheng. Vice President Shun, happy cooperation. Li Changsheng took the initiative to pat Shun Donghai's shoulder and then walked towards the dormitory with a smile. After Li Changsheng walked far away, Shun Donghai sneered. Mr. Shun, are you really going to give 150,000 yuan to this kid for nothing? This kid agreed so quickly. Is he going to betray us? How dare he? Shun Donghai snorted. You know Ming's strength. If he betrays us, I will let Ming cripple him on the spot. Tomorrow, you will see. I will definitely ruin Shun Ligua's reputation. Then, the position of Qingzhou University's president will be mine. After that, Shun Donghai left with his subordinates. Not long after, a figure peeked out from the corner. After confirming that Shun Donghai had left, she patted her chest and let out a sigh of relief. It was Su Jing. This Li Changsheng is really a villain who forgets righteousness at the sight of profit. I didn't expect him to become a coach by relying on Headmaster Chen's relationship. But now, he was bribed with 300,000 yuan and wants to frame Headmaster Chen. He is simply a bastard. It turned out that Li Changsheng had just rejected Su Jing's treat. Su Jing was also not in the mood to stay in the combat room, so she followed Li Changsheng and left the gymnasium. Just as she was about to go out, she happened to see Shindonghai and Li Changxing talking about something. She quietly approached. After hearing the content, she was furious. What a villain. I thought he was a good coach. I have to tell Headmaster Chen about this. Su Jing muttered and turned to leave. When she looked up, she saw a sturdy figure blocking her way. She turned around and saw Shun Donghai looking at her sinisterly. Teacher Su Jing, where are you going? It just so happens that I have something to tell you. What is it? I don't have time right now. With that, Su Jing turned around and ran towards the gymnasium. There were many teachers and students there, so Shun Donghai did not dare to act recklessly. But just as she took a step, she was grabbed by the neck by the boxing champion named Ming and was pulled back like a chick. Teacher Su Jing, don't be anxious, okay? Let's have a good talk. The next morning, all the training teams in the gymnasium stopped training. According to the opinions of Vice Headmaster Shun and many school leaders, they wanted to assess the new coach of the combat team. They also invited several big shots from the city. In the gymnasium's hall, several conference tables had been set up, and Chun Guoli was personally accompanying them. Su Jing also appeared, but there were two strong men in black beside her. Su Jing had two dark circles under her eyes, and her face was anxious. She wanted to go over and say something to Chun Guoli, but when she saw the two strong men's threatening gazes and remembered what Shin Donghai said to her before she came, if she dared to expose Shun Donghai's conspiracy, then her 6-year-old brother who was still in kindergarten and her retired mother would definitely be in danger. In the end, she lowered her head. All right, everyone quiet down. Next, we will assess the new coach of the combat team. A middle-aged man stood up. He was one of the leaders in charge of the assessment this time. As everyone knows, this combat team will be representing Qingzhou University and the whole of Qingzhou to participate in the National University Combat Competition. The competition is to select talents for the country. The final champion will directly join the national team, so we have to be careful in the selection of the combat team's coach. After that, the gymnasium immediately quieted down. 3 members of the combat team stood up. There were specialized personnel to check their physical indicators. Who is the new coach of the combat team? Not only do we need to assess the combat team members, but more importantly, we need to assess the new coach's ability. After that, many people turned their heads to look, but they didn't see Li Changxing's figure. The crowd started to discuss. That leader couldn't help but frown and looked at Chun Guoli. Headmaster Chun, what is going on? Chun Guoli's face was also a little ugly. He had already called Li Changxing a few times, but no one answered. This coach, Li, must have been delayed on the way. Chun Guoli could only explain. There was already a lot of discussion below. What's going on? Could it be that the new coach of the combat team is not good enough, so he doesn't dare to show up after hearing about the assessment? I heard that the new coach is a young man around 20 years old. He must be scared. Chapter 39. Why hasn't that coach shown up yet? Don't tell me you're really scared. A young boy. I heard that he became a coach through the back door. Now that he heard about the assessment, he is so scared that he doesn't dare to show up. I don't know where he is hiding, shivering. The coaches and students of various sports teams were watching. A few of them who had seen Li Changxing before made disdainful comments. They didn't believe that Li Changxing could have such a high combat ability at such a young age. Coach Li is a really capable person. In the crowd, the PE teacher Wang Jian defended Li Changxing. He didn't believe that Li Changxing didn't show up because he was scared. He knew Li Changxing's strength. He was a person with real ability. Several leaders sent by the higher-ups also showed displeasure on their faces. If this new coach wasn't scared, then it was unreasonable for him to be late for such an important occasion. After all, only leaders had the right to be late. Hula! The crowd automatically made a path for him. Li Changxing walked over at a leisurely pace. I'm really sorry. I was hungry on the way, so I went to buy breakfast. Sorry to keep you waiting, Li Changxing said with a smile. The leaders of the school and the city didn't look good. Doesn't this guy know how important today's assessment is? Doesn't he know that so many leaders are waiting? It's too much for him to be late for breakfast. Ha! Chunligwa coughed twice to attract everyone's attention. He said, "Since Coach Li is here, then the assessment can begin." As he spoke, he looked at Shen Donghai. Everything today was planned by Shen Donghai. Naturally, it was up to Shen Donghai. Chunligwa didn't care. He saw the boxing champion next to Shen Donghai. In fact, he didn't have much hope for Li Changsheng. But even if Li Changsheng couldn't pass the assessment, it didn't matter. He hired Li Changsheng as a coach. There were no problems with all the procedures. Moreover, he had already helped Li Changsheng with the coaching qualification certificate. It was flawless. Shen Donghai wanted to borrow Li Changsheng to deal with him, but it was obvious that he had the wrong idea. "Coach Li, according to some people, you became the coach of the combat team through the back door. You don't have the ability to be a coach at all." A middle-aged man stood up. He did not have a good impression of Li Changsheng, so he went straight to the point. "Next, we will test you. Before the test, I have a few questions to ask you." The middle-aged man looked straight at Li Changsheng. He was invited by Shen Donghai and had a deep relationship with Shen Donghai. Moreover, he had dabbled in psychology before. When he spoke, he kept staring at Li Changsheng's face, trying to find some clues. However, he was soon disappointed because Li Changsheng's expression was calm and unhurried, and there seemed to be nothing unusual about it. There were only two possibilities for this situation. The first was that Li Changsheng was a real talent. The second was that his psychological ability was very strong and he hid himself very well. It was very difficult for outsiders to see through him. No matter what the situation was, it showed that Li Changsheng was not simple. "What is it? Ask away," Li Changsheng said calmly. "Okay, then let me ask you. Before you became the coach of Qingzhou University's combat team, did you have any relevant coaching experience, or did you have any glorious achievements in the field of combat? For example, the boxing champion we invited today, Ming. He once won a 90 kilograms gold belt, had a record of 39 consecutive victories, and also severely injured a Muay Thai boxing champion in the Sino-Thai Boxing Championship. You can casually name 3 of these achievements to prove your qualifications. Of course, these achievements must be real, and we can check them." After the middle-aged man finished his question, there was a burst of surprise around him. I knew this tall guy was not ordinary. It turns out that he is so powerful. I watched the Sino-Thai Boxing Championship match. The Muay Thai boxing champion was beaten to the point of vomiting blood. Compared to this boxing champion, this Coach Li seems to be a weakling. Hearing the discussion around them, the middle-aged man, Shen Donghai, and the others showed a proud look. Especially that boxing champion. His face was full of arrogance. His reputation was built on his fists. Chunligwa, on the other hand, shook his head and smiled bitterly. He did not have much hope for Li Changsheng. He only hoped that Li Changsheng could name 1 or 2 achievements that could be considered good enough to not embarrass him too much. Under everyone's gaze and waiting, Li Changsheng shook his head directly. "No." "What?" The middle-aged man suspected that he had misheard. Everyone else also opened their eyes wide. "I said no. Don't you understand?" Li Changsheng's words caused another uproar. "Are you kidding me?" "No." I'm dying of laughter. This guy actually said it so confidently. Everyone said that he came in through the back door. Now it seems that it is true. But I heard that he beat up 3 students and sent them to the hospital. Don't listen to hearsay. That might be fake information that he spread. But I clearly saw the ambulance that day. Could it be that the 3 students were cooperating with him to put on a show? Everyone was talking about it. Shen Donghai nodded to himself. He felt that this coach was really smart. What he had said was a foreshadowing for the subsequent framing of Chunligwa. He secretly gave Li Changsheng a look of appreciation. Chunligwa's face was ugly. "No achievements? What kind of person did Mr. Chu recommend to me? I've really embarrassed myself today." At this moment, Shen Donghai raised a sharp question. "Coach Li, since you don't have any records, how did you become a coach at Qingzhou University? Please tell the leaders here the truth. Otherwise, we will suspect that your qualifications are fake and there is fraud." Shen Donghai's words fell into silence. "What's going on? Are we going to dig out who he got in through the back door?" Su Jing also clenched her fists and bit her lips. Everyone knew that the main event was coming. Chen Ligua turned his head and looked at Shen Donghai. He finally understood. The real purpose of the other party's actions today was to mess with him. He saw the slightly proud smile on Shen Donghai's face and had a bad feeling. It's because of my strength. Li Changxing's faint voice sounded. Chen Ligua breathed a sigh of relief. Su Jing's eyes showed surprise. Shen Donghai, who was sitting behind the table, stood up with a bang, and then a cold light appeared in his eyes. This guy took 150,000 yuan from me and betrayed me in the middle of it. He clenched his fists, and the veins on his face were exposed. He said in a threatening and cold voice, "Coach Li, I think you should tell the truth. With your strength? What strength do you have?" "Of course I have strength. Vice President Shen, don't you think that your words are gloomy, like a eunuch?" "What did you say?" Shen Donghai was furious. Okay. Coach Li, since you said so, don't regret it. I request that he be assessed immediately." As he spoke, he pointed to the boxing champion, Ming. Everyone should know Ming's strength. As the coach of the Qingzhou University fighting team, I think that even if Coach Li's strength is not as good as Ming's, it can't be too far away. So I request that the two of them be allowed to learn from each other. The boxing champion, Ming, did not speak. He walked directly to a row of elastic steel plates in the field, on which hung a gravity measuring device. Everyone focused their eyes on the gravity scale, not understanding what he was going to do. Ming took a deep breath, raised his fist, and punched the gravity scale. Boom! With a violent sound, the number on the gravity measuring device kept changing. The force reached more than 800 pounds. 800 pounds was equivalent to the force of a car hitting a person at 40 kilometers per hour. Many people gasped in shock. This also meant that the other party could break a person's bones with one punch. After punching, Ming showed his explosive muscles and cast a provocative look at Li Changxing. "Coach Li, do you still stand by your words?" Shen Donghai said coldly. Chapter 40. Li Changxing sneered and hooked his finger at the brawny boxing champion, Ming. Then, he gently raised his middle finger, causing an uproar. What is he doing? Is this a provocation? He clearly saw Ming's powerful strength and still dared to do such a thing. Is he trying to provoke him? It seems that this new coach of the fighting team is also a ruthless character. You got guts. Humph. You're digging your own grave. Shen Donghai's eyes flashed with a cold light. At the same time, he gently knocked on the table 3 times. This was the signal that he and Ming had agreed on. The number of times he knocked on the table represented the strength of his attack on Li Changxing. 3 consecutive knocks meant that he wanted to cripple Li Changxing. Shen Donghai was really angry. He was cheated of 150,000 yuan by Li Changxing and betrayed halfway. He had always been the one to scheme against others. Now, he was being played by someone else. In that case, let's start the assessment. The middle-aged man said after asking for Shen Donghai and Chen Ligua's opinion. Ming, be gentle. Don't kill this skinny Coach Li, Shen Donghai said gloomily. What he meant was that it was okay as long as he didn't die. Chen Ligua, who had always known Shen Donghai well, had a worried look in her eyes. In the crowd, Su Jing's face was full of confusion. She didn't expect Li Changxing to not do such ungrateful things. But this guy wants to challenge this boxing champion. Can he really win? This boxing champion's titles and achievements just now seemed to be very awesome. She was very worried about Li Changxing, but she also knew that it was useless to worry. She could only pray silently in her heart. Not only Su Jing, but many people were not optimistic about Li Changxing's chances. After all, just from the difference in appearance and body shape, the two were not at the same level. A martial arts star once said that although martial arts were powerful, the innate difference in physical strength could not be overcome. This was also why formal martial arts competitions were set up according to the weight of the contestants. Lightweight contestants and heavyweight contestants were not allowed to fight each other. Now Li Changxing was obviously a lightweight, while boxing champion Ming was a heavyweight. Even if they had the same fighting experience and skills, Li Changxing's odds of winning were very low. Moreover, in everyone's eyes, Boxing King Ming not only had an absolute advantage in terms of physical strength, but also in terms of fighting experience and skills. He was much better than Li Changxing. Nobody could have imagined that a skinny guy who didn't even have a decent record could defeat a seasoned boxing champion. You may begin. As the middle-aged man's words fell, everyone present held their breaths and stared at the field. Just now, boxing champion Ming had punched out with 800 pounds of force. Many people saw the numbers above, and almost no one thought that Li Changxing could fight against him. Fist King Ming had a hideous grin on his face. He clenched his fist, which was as huge as a lump of iron and was covered in a thick layer of calluses. His muscles were hard and gave off a powerful impact. Kid, I'll let you have a taste of what it means to live a life worse than death. Ming licked his lips with an arrogant look. He didn't take Li Changxing seriously at all. Li Changxing didn't make any more provocative moves. He just looked at his opponent quietly. The fact that his opponent could get so many boxing champion gold belts meant that he had a certain level of strength. Li Changxing could tell that his opponent had practiced overt strength to the extreme and had developed his body's potential to a very high degree. However, it was still not enough to catch Li Changxing's attention. Although he had only recovered a little of his cultivation, his strong physical body would still make many combat experts feel despair. Blockhead, are you sure you want to fight me? If I do, you may not be able to get into the ring for the rest of your life. As his voice fell, everyone present was a little surprised. At a time like this, Li Changxing still dared to talk so arrogantly. Shindong Hai even had a cold smile on his face. Boxing King Ming was completely enraged. He suddenly raised his fist and slammed it down on Li Changxing's face. Bang! At that moment, Li Changxing stepped on the ground and slid to the side. It was as if his feet were glued to a spring as he dodged Ming's attack. Then, he stepped on the ground again, like an arrow leaving the bow. He took advantage of the opening left by Ming's punch and stabbed forward. His body created a sonic boom in the air, like a whip cracking in the air. It was fine if he didn't move, but once he moved, it was like a thunderbolt. Li Changxing went from dodging to attacking in one go. Especially because of the sonic boom caused by his fast movement, his momentum was even more terrifying. At this moment, everyone who didn't think highly of Li Changxing subconsciously felt their hearts tighten. Boxing King Ming didn't expect Li Changxing, a skinny guy, to suddenly attack. The power he released was like a landslide or a tsunami. It was simply unstoppable. When he punched just now, his body revealed a large gap. It was too late to pull back now. He could only turn to the left and raise his right leg in an attempt to use it to withstand Li Changxing's power. Bang! Li Changxing's punch landed on Ming's leg, and only a crack was heard. In an instant, Ming's leg bent into a terrifying arc. Then, he flew to the side and hit the pillar of the stadium. His face revealed a painful expression. At this moment, Li Changxing followed like a shadow. With a stride, his body swept up in the air, and his fist came down from the air. He was like a ferocious tiger released from its cage, carrying a violent, murderous aura. This punch was aimed directly at Ming's head. Judging from the sound of the fist in the air and judging from the strength of the previous punch, Ming knew that if he was hit, he would at least suffer a concussion. In the worst case, he might even die. Li Changxing showed unparalleled power as soon as he attacked. Just listening to the sound made people tremble with fear. Ming was so scared that his face turned pale. He subconsciously raised his arms to form a cross to block. His leg was in excruciating pain. He only hoped to block Li Changxing's attack and then admit defeat. He swore that Li Changxing was definitely the most terrifying opponent he had ever met. He never expected that Li Changxing's thin and weak body would have such terrifying power. Although Li Changxing used less than 1% of his strength in this punch, when he was at his peak, his physical body could shake mountains. 1% of his strength was not inferior to a high-speed train. One could imagine what would happen if a person's arm was run over by a high-speed train. Ming didn't even feel any pain from the punch. Instead, he heard a crisp crack. Both of his arms broke from the middle as if they had been cut by a sharp knife. They were flung to both sides, revealing white bone stubble. Then, blood spurted out from the wound. Ah! When Fist King Ming saw that his two arms had completely disappeared, his eyes widened in horror as he let out a blood-curdling scream. Chapter 41. All the teachers and students gasped and felt a chill run down their spines. Shindonghai was so scared that his hands were shaking. Li Changsheng stood in the middle of the field like a demon god. Everyone who was caught in his gaze felt as if they had fallen into a cold cellar. It was too terrifying. They had seen people break bones with one move, but they had never seen someone break two arms with one punch. How powerful was that? Under the horrified gazes of everyone present, Boxing King Ming fell to the ground and screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Ah, my arm, my arm. Get the infirmary people here. Chunligua was the first to react and gave the order. 10 minutes later, the infirmary people rushed in with a stretcher. Ming had already fainted from the pain. After a moment of panic, Ming was carried away. Everyone present looked at Li Changsheng with fear. This Boxing King invited by Vice President Shun is too weak. I haven't even warmed up yet. Li Changsheng shrugged. You, Shindonghai stammered. He originally wanted to say a few tough words, but when faced with Li Changsheng's calm gaze, he couldn't bring himself to be tough. You just hit out 800 pounds of strength, and you dare to provoke me? Are the boxing kings nowadays so cheap? Li Changsheng shook his head. Under everyone's gazes, he walked to the power tester, rubbed his fist, and then suddenly hit the steel plate in front of him. Clang! The powerful sound wave reverberated in the gymnasium and made everyone's ears buzz. A series of numbers kept jumping on the monitor of the tester, and then it exploded with a bang. When the sound subsided, many people looked at the place where Li Changsheng had hit the steel plate on the tester and gasped. That was because a hole had been punched through the 5-centimeter thick steel plate. This is equivalent to the power of an armor-piercing bullet. Is he still human? At this time, Li Changsheng opened his mouth and revealed his white teeth. The quality of the gravity tester is too poor. Many people felt powerless. It was not the quality of the gravity tester, but his strength was inhuman. This was what many people were thinking, but they did not dare to say it out loud. This new coach was too fierce. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed that someone had broken the gravity tester. That the middle-aged man in charge wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He didn't know what to say. This guy was too scary. Just as the field fell into silence, the teacher who led the 3 members of the combat team to test their physical fitness came back. When he saw the strange atmosphere in the field, he was a little confused. He looked at the leader sitting in the middle and said, "Director Yang, the physical indicators of the 3 students have been tested." As he spoke, he passed a folder to the other party. Only then did Director Yang react. He took the folder with trembling hands and slowly opened it. "How is it?" Shindonghai asked subconsciously. Now that the boxing champion was dead, he could only count on the results of training the students. At this time, Director Yang had calmed down a little. After looking at the indicators, he took a deep breath and passed the folder to Shindonghai with a cold face. This time, he came to investigate because he received a report from Shindonghai. However, the situation at the scene was very different from what Shindonghai had described. Shindonghai took the folder. When he saw the numbers on it, he exclaimed, "How is this possible?" Many people were puzzled. They did not understand what had happened. Then, after everyone read the contents, they were all in disbelief. Li Changsheng had been the coach of the combat team for less than half a month, and the physical fitness of the 3 members had increased by more than 3 times. In the past, the 3 of them were at most equivalent to ordinary professional fighters. However, the data now showed that each of them was not inferior to the boxing champion Ming. This was simply a miracle. Vice President Shun, please clarify things before inviting us here in the future. If something like this happens again, I will have to suspect that you are not suitable to be a vice president. Director Yang snorted coldly. Shen Donghai used his connections to find him. Originally, he did not want to offend Chen Ligua. However, after Shen Donghai's assurance and words, he reluctantly agreed to do the assessment. However, he did not expect the outcome to be like this. It made him very angry. Wait a minute, Director Yang. This Li Changsheng attacked on the spot and injured Ming. This is considered intentional injury. He should be arrested. There is a disability quota in the arena. Moreover, before the competition, it is fair by the authoritative department. Shen Donghai, you have really disappointed me. Director Yang left with a cold face. The leaders who came with Director Yang looked at Shen Donghai meaningfully and then left one after another. Shen Donghai was considered a junior in their circle. Originally, because he was well-behaved, tactful, and capable, he was seen as someone who could be supported. However, when the incident happened, Director Yang was the first to be harmed. They felt that they should re-evaluate Shen Donghai's ability. After the leaders all left, Shen Donghai slumped in his chair. Today, it could be said that he went for wool and came back with the rice. Not only did he not pull Chen Ligua down, but he also ruined the image that he had painstakingly created. All right, today's assessment ends here. I now announce, Chen Ligua was about to speak when Shen Donghai's eyes suddenly revealed a resentful light. Wait a minute. I heard that Li Changsheng injured a student a few days ago. No matter how strong a coach is, he is still unqualified. Hearing Shen Donghai's words, Chen Ligua's heart thumped. Before this, he was afraid that Shen Donghai would make an issue of this matter. Now his worries had come true. I think it is understandable for a coach to sometimes give appropriate corporal punishment to students. Chen Ligua said, appropriate corporal punishment? I don't think so. Before this, Shen Donghai had carefully investigated Li Changsheng. The information he received was that Li Changsheng carried out cruel training on the students. Often, the wails of Wang Dongsheng and the others could be heard from the combat room. There were also sounds of resistance, and cursing Li Changsheng as the devil. President Chen, you said that it was simple corporal punishment, but I heard that it was inhumane torture. However, no matter what you or I say, it is useless. We still have to listen to the opinions of the students. How about this? Let's let the 3 students say whether they agree to let Li Changsheng be their coach or not. Shen Donghai saw that he could not defeat Chen Ligua today, so he vented all his anger on Li Changsheng. He was determined to make sure that Li Changsheng would not be able to become their coach. This, Chen Ligua was somewhat hesitant. Su Jing had reported Li Changsheng to him more than once, saying that Li Changsheng tortured the students and ignored their human rights. Although he did not go to Li Changsheng because of Elder Chu, he could guess that Wang Dongsheng and the others had long hated Li Changsheng to the bone. They could not wait for this devil coach to leave as soon as possible. Li Changsheng, oh Li Changsheng, although I did not expect you to be so strong, even I find it hard to agree with your behavior. You are indeed not suitable to be their coach. Chen Ligua thought this in his heart and sighed. The students and teachers of the other sports teams around also looked at Li Changsheng with schadenfreude. They had all trained in the same gymnasium. Although they didn't know what had happened in the sparring room, they had all heard the screams of Wang Dongsheng and the others during those few days. Wei Hu, Wang Dongsheng, Jin Wenwen, don't be afraid. Tell everyone, are you willing to let Li Changsheng be your coach? Shen Donghai asked. The stadium fell into silence. Everyone looked at the 3 of them, waiting for their answer. Wang Dongsheng and the others looked at each other. Wei Hu was the first to stand up and said rather angrily, I think Coach Li is the best coach. His teaching method is also the most suitable for us. I, Wei Hu, am here to declare that whoever dares to slander Coach Li will be beaten up until they cannot take care of themselves. Chapter 42. Our combat team can only have one coach, and that is Li Changsheng. Wang Dongsheng, with a cool face, also said loudly, Coach Li is the most suitable coach for us. If anyone asks Coach Li to leave us, I will be the first to disagree. Jin Wenwen also expressed her strong stance. This time, everyone present was a little confused. What's going on? Could it be that all three members of the combat team have masochistic tendencies? Shinligwo was also surprised, but still let out a long sigh of relief. Shindonghai, on the other hand, was completely dumbfounded. How was this inconsistent with the information I received? This Li Changsheng is clearly very popular among the students. He glared at one of his subordinates next to him. He was the one who heard the news, and now the result of the scene caught him off guard. If that's the case, then I have nothing to say. Shun Donghai clenched his trembling hands, leaned on his walking stick, and left with the help of his subordinates. Today, he had completely failed. Most importantly, the 150,000 yuan had been transferred to Li Changsheng's account. This damn kid, Shun Donghai muttered, his eyes full of hatred. After Shun Donghai left, Chunli was said, "Coach Li, congratulations." After that, he left with a face full of joy. He had fought with Shun Donghai for so many years, and this was the first time he saw this opponent flustered and exasperated. After all the school leaders had left, there was a sudden burst of noise in the field. Everything that had happened today was too amazing. To be able to witness such a scene made them feel more excited than watching a blockbuster movie. "Everyone, please be quiet." At this time, a school teacher hurriedly returned. "I hope that everyone can keep what happened today a secret. Don't spread it out. This is Headmaster Chen's intention." Indeed, breaking someone's arm in combat would definitely cause a commotion in society if it were to spread out. After that, the teacher looked at all the coaches present. "Please restrain your students. If today's news gets out, you will be responsible for the consequences." After that, he turned around and left. The field suddenly fell into a short silence. It was really a sullen thing to not be able to tell others such news. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, nodded in satisfaction. He only wanted to be an ordinary student, so this was the best outcome. "All right, you've been training for a few days, so I'll give you a few days off. After a few days, the training will continue." Li Changsheng said to Wei Hu and the others. "Yes, coach." The three of them replied in unison. Of course, they were very happy to have a few days off. They had been mentally and physically tortured for the past few days. However, when they thought about how they would miss out on a few days of training, they felt a little regretful. Although the training under Li Changsheng was very cruel, the pleasure of improving one's strength was something that other activities could not bring. After arranging the three students, Li Changsheng turned to leave the gymnasium. At this moment, a figure suddenly walked in, and the noise at the scene stopped for a moment. The figure didn't seem to have expected the stadium to be so noisy, but she still saw Li Changsheng standing in the center, surrounded by the crowd. "Li Changsheng, my grandfather came to school. He wants to see you." The person who walked in was none other than Chu Yaoyin's granddaughter, Chu Meng. Chu Meng was one of the 4 goddesses in the school forum, and was also the dream lover of many students. She was equivalent to a star in Qingzhou University. No wonder everyone had such a big reaction when she appeared. "You're about to meet the parents." Li Changsheng was in a good mood today, and said with a joking tone. Who knew that Chu Meng's face suddenly turned red, and then she turned and walked out of the gymnasium. "What's going on?" Many of the boys present were confused. This guy can't really be having an affair with Goddess Chu, right? Seeing how Goddess Chu covered her face and left, it was obvious that she admitted it. "Oh my God, my heart hurts." Many of the boys who saw Chu Meng as their dream lover felt their hearts break at this moment. The beautiful school bell is taken just like that. Such a juicy cabbage was eaten by a pig. Although this pig is very strong, he's not as handsome as me. Many people were wailing. Li Changsheng's face also froze, and he seemed to realize that his joke was a bit too much, because he quickly realized that countless hateful gazes fell on him. Sure enough, the hatred between male animals was naked. In the crowd, Su Jing's eyes also revealed a strange expression. No wonder I was rejected when I invited him to dinner. So Chu Meng, one of the 4 goddesses in the school, is actually his girlfriend. But it seems that my appearance and figure aren't any worse than Chu Meng's. Hey, what am I thinking? How can this cow dung be worthy of me? Li Changsheng didn't know that a certain girl in the crowd was having complicated thoughts. Because of his powerful fighting strength, no one dared to jump out and fight him. But because of the countless murderous gazes, it still made him uncomfortable, and he hurriedly walked out of the combat room. "Why is your grandfather looking for me?" After Li Changxing came out, he saw Chu Meng waiting for him not too far away. "Don't you know what he's doing?" "Li Changsheng, did you say something you shouldn't say to my grandfather like Xiao Chan said? Otherwise, why would he repeatedly hint to me to be your girlfriend?" This, Li Changsheng awkwardly scratched his head. He was also speechless. He didn't think that Chu Yaotian, this guy, would actually randomly matchmake a couple. Although this Chu Meng's looks weren't bad, he didn't even think in that direction. "You misunderstood. I didn't say anything like that to your grandfather. It's probably because your grandfather thinks that I'm too outstanding and doesn't want you to miss out on this rare opportunity." "You think you're outstanding?" Chu Meng had the urge to laugh out loud. Everyone said that a cow dung that didn't want to insert a flower wasn't a cow dung with ideals. But such a confident cow dung still made her feel helpless. "My grandfather is waiting for you at the sports field. I won't go over. Also, it's impossible between you and me because you're not good enough for me." Chu Meng was a kind woman, but she felt that she had to be a bit more heartless to Li Changsheng. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to stop this guy's thoughts. Her grandfather's constant whispering in her ear really made her feel annoyed. "Xiao Chan is right. If you don't feel anything, you have to reject him immediately. Men can't be too nice, otherwise it's easy to give them the wrong impression." Chu Meng thought. Li Changsheng shook his head and walked towards the sports field. In his thousands of years of life, Li Changsheng had been rejected by women before. But this was the first time that he was not good enough for someone. Back then, he fell in love with Jiao Chan at first sight. But Jiao Chan said that she liked that guy Lu Bu. Although that guy was called the #1 war god of the Three Kingdoms, he was still beaten to the point that he couldn't move for 3 months. Unfortunately, that girl had already given her heart to someone else. In the end, he could only sigh that they were not fated to be together. Li Changsheng shook his head. He couldn't bear to look back on the past. Why would he suddenly think of something so long ago? Could it be that after waking up and falling asleep for so many times, he also felt lonely? Chapter 43. On the field, Li Changsheng saw Chu Yaotian standing by the woods. Chu Yaotian was wearing a Chinese tunic suit. His hair was white, but he was full of energy. After seeing Li Changsheng, he hurried over. "Mr. Li, you're here. Why did you come to the school to look for me?" Li Changsheng asked faintly. "I heard from my student that the school is going to assess you. It's too much. I've already criticized him, and that Shindong Hai. He and Shinligua have been fighting openly and secretly. I can't be bothered. But if he dares to provoke you, I'll make him disappear from the world immediately." Speaking of this, Chu Yaotian exuded an awe-inspiring aura like a lion. Although he looked old, the aura of a king had penetrated deep into his bones and would leak out inadvertently. Chu Yaotian had been operating in Qingzhou for many years. He was like a retired emperor. He would only bow and bend his knees in front of Li Changsheng. To others, he was definitely a super big shot. "Forget it. He's just an ant." Li Changsheng waved his hand casually. "As long as he doesn't provoke me, I'll spare his life." "Yes, Mr. Li." Chu Yaotian realized that he had lost his composure and hurriedly returned to his previous state. "Other than this, is there anything else?" Li Changsheng asked faintly. "There's one more thing." Chu Yaotian wanted to say something, but stopped. "It's like this. I didn't dare to tell anyone about your return, but someone happened to pass by Qingzhou. I had to tell him that he's waiting outside Qingzhou University. If you don't want to see him, I'll ask him to leave immediately." "You're referring to Xiao Su, right?" Li Changsheng smiled faintly. "When you were in prison, it was Xiao Su who saved you. I know you've always remembered this kindness. So when he asked about me, you had to tell him, right?" "Yes." Chu Yaotian lowered his head and said. In front of Changsheng, he was like a primary school student who had made a mistake. "I can't blame you for being grateful. Since he's here, let him in." "Yes." Chu Yaotian was pleasantly surprised. He hurriedly took out his phone and made a call. A few minutes later, a group of people walked over in a grandiose manner. When he turned around, he saw a middle-aged man in his 50s. He walked like a dragon or a tiger, with an imposing aura. Heavenly King Su Xiaolin, China's famous business emperor with hundreds of billions of assets. The Su Group under his name was known as China's commercial aircraft carrier. However, when he stood in front of Li Changsheng, he instantly lowered his arrogant head. His voice was emotional, almost choking with emotion as he said, "Little Su pays his respects to Sir." 30 years ago, when Su Xiaolin made his fortune, he became a financial giant in the Jiangbei area within 3 years with his powerful means and courage. At the same time, a guy named Gu Mangong and a man named Qi Yu grew up in the same barbaric way. They quickly rose in the south of Anhui province and the northwest of China. The most unexpected thing at that time was that the three of them announced that they had a common master, Li Changsheng, almost on the same day. The name was known throughout the country. However, one day, the name suddenly disappeared without a trace. Many people were saying that Li Changsheng might have been secretly killed by these three powerful subordinates. After all, these three people were fierce man-eating tigers, ambitious and ruthless characters. Only Li Changsheng's followers knew the details. "Sir," Su Xiaolin still wanted to say something. However, Li Changsheng waved his hand and said, "Okay, don't be sentimental in front of me. Since you have come to see me, and now you have seen me, you can get out if there is nothing else." Su Xiaolin was one of Li Changsheng's most loyal followers and his confidant. However, now that he was reborn, he just wanted to live a normal life. Therefore, even if he was reborn, only Chu Yaodian knew about it. He didn't tell Su Xiaolin and the others. "Sir, Chu Yaodian has already told me your intention. I dare not disturb you at will. However, after so many years, you have to let me show my filial piety." As he said that, he waved his hand. The group of arrogant subordinates behind him all walked over in unison. "Hurry up and greet Sir," Su Xiaolin said coldly. Although the subordinates were very confused about who this young man was and why their boss was so humble, they didn't dare to neglect him. They shouted in unison, "Hello, sir." "Okay." Li Changsheng saw that many students around were looking at him strangely. He hurriedly stopped him and said, "Little Su, you just can't change your nouveau riche habit. It's hard for me to keep a low profile. Hurry up and tell your subordinates to withdraw." "Yes, sir." Su Xiaolin waved his hand. Suddenly, the strong men in black hurriedly hid in the woods. Seeing that there were still many people looking at him curiously, Li Changsheng smiled bitterly and said, "If there is nothing else, get out of here. Don't come to school to bother me in the future." However, Su Xiaolin smiled. He understood the meaning of Li Changsheng's words. Don't bother Li Changsheng if you don't have anything to do. It's not that you can't come to see Li Changsheng. This sentence made him happier than earning tens of billions a day. "Sir, I brought you a lot of gifts this time. A limited edition Rolls-Royce, watches, tea, health products." Okay. Li Changsheng hurriedly interrupted. "These things are of no use to me. Do you have a house in Qingzhou? I need a big house, preferably a villa." "Yes, of course." Su Xiaolin hurriedly nodded. "I have a big villa in the central area of Qingzhou. No one has lived in it for many years. I'll immediately get someone to clean it up and send the property tomorrow." "All right, the property certificate isn't important. Didn't you bring me some tea leaves?" "In a while, let a subordinate send it to my dormitory. The other things are useless. You can take them back." "The car," Su Xiaolin said in a begging voice. "Sir, please accept the car as a means of transportation." "No, I'm a student driving a luxury car. I can keep a low profile even if I want to. Except for the tea and the villa, I don't want anything else." After that, Li Changsheng waved his hand. "I'll call you if I need anything in the future, but don't come to school to find me without my permission. Do you hear me?" "Got it." Su Xiaolin nodded and looked at Li Changsheng with a face full of reluctance. "Hurry up and get lost. If you stay any longer, I'll become a celebrity in school." "Okay." Su Xiaolin waved his hand again, and the group of subordinates in the woods walked out in an orderly manner. Then, he bowed to Li Changsheng and left with his subordinates. At this moment, on the field, A girl was holding a book and reading as she walked. When she saw a group of strong men in suits, led by a spirited middle-aged man, walking past her, she couldn't help but be surprised. In particular, she noticed the watch on the middle-aged man's hand. A few days ago, she accidentally saw a replica on Taobao with a price of more than 60,000 yuan. It seemed to be exactly the same as the one on the middle-aged man's hand. Looking at the other party's imposing manner, the watch on his hand should be the real one. A replica is more than 60,000 yuan. How much would the real one cost? I don't know which rich parents came to see their son. Their family must be at least a billionaire. Lu Yao muttered as she walked a few steps and saw Li Changsheng standing there. Could it be that those people have something to do with Li Changsheng? Soon, she overturned this idea. If Li Changsheng had such a rich family, how could he be so low-key? His clothes were plain and simple, and he didn't even have a decent accessory. That person definitely wasn't looking for him. I'm just a step late. Otherwise, I could see whose family is so rich. Maybe I can have a chance encounter with him. Although Lu Yao had a rich boyfriend, Ma Yang, that guy was too fickle and made her feel very insecure. She didn't mind finding herself a spare tire. Of course, the spare tire must be of good quality. A short and poor man like Li Changsheng was certainly not in her scope. In Lu Yao's words, this was not power and money, but a reasonable use of the advantages given to her by God. As for love, love without material things is just a plate of loose sand scattered by the wind. Chapter 44. Returning to the dormitory from a sports field, his 3 roommates were there for the first time, but the atmosphere in the dormitory was gloomy. What happened? Did you guys fall out of love? Li Changsheng smiled and sat on his bed. He took out a Chunghua cigarette and lit it. He picked up a box and showed it to his 3 roommates, but they shook their heads at the same time. After a full minute, Jiang Tao let out a long sigh and said, Changsheng, your situation is not good. How is it not good? Li Changsheng asked with a smile. He had already guessed that with Tao Zhang's power, it would not be easy to settle things for him. Sure enough, Tao Zhang said, I told my dad, but he said that the Qin family is too powerful, and you beat up Qin, and Qin Xian. He can't say anything. It's okay. Li Changsheng smiled. I've said it before. A mere Qin clan is nothing in my eyes. You don't think that you're not afraid of anything just because you have good martial arts. In this world, martial arts alone is not enough. Beside him, Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan also shook their heads. All right. Different situations call for different measures. I'm not afraid. So what are you guys afraid of? Jiang Tao sighed again. But although my dad can't help, I thought a friend. He's from the underworld and knows people from all walks of life. I heard that he has some friendship with Qin Yi. If I can't help, I can ask him to see if he can help. Hearing Tao Zhang's words, Li Changsheng directly refused. I never asked for help. Tao Zhang seemed to have known that Li Changsheng would say that, so he hurriedly changed his words. It's not a request. Let's go and find out. He and I used to be classmates in elementary school. His family is in the real estate business, and now he is studying at the tourism college. Tao Jiang was a rich second generation and knew a lot of people in Qingzhou. The friend he was talking about came from a family similar to Tao Zhang's, but he knew a lot more than Tao Jiang. Li Changsheng originally didn't want to go. The Qin family wasn't worth his attention. However, Jiang Tao had good intentions. In the end, he couldn't refuse and followed Jiang Tao to a coffee shop in front of the school gate. Not long after Jiang Tao and Li Changsheng waited, a silver-gray Maserati sports car stopped and a tall young man stepped out. She wore a gold watch on her wrist and a pair of sunglasses on the bridge of her nose. She had long hair and gave people a very fashionable feeling. Changsheng, this is Yi Chuan, young master He. He's the primary school classmate I told you about. He then introduced Li Changsheng to the other party. This is Li Changsheng. Although young master, he was only a third-rate person in the circle of rich second-generation heirs in Qingzhou. In his opinion, a poor kid like Li Changsheng was still not qualified for him to pay attention to. Therefore, he only nodded slightly at Li Changsheng, then sat down boldly and crossed his legs. At the same time, he snapped his fingers at the waiter and asked for a cup of milk tea. From then on, he didn't even look at Li Changsheng. Young master, I told you about this friend of mine on the phone. He offended young Master Qin. Can you help mediate between them? Originally, Jiang Tao and He Chuan's status was similar. However, after all, he was asking for help, so his status was much lower. I'm afraid that's not easy. He Chuan lit a cigar and took a puff before saying, to be honest, although I've hung out with young Master Qin a few times, you should know that my family's power is several levels lower than young Master Qin's. However, I know a person who owns a bar in the east of the city. He's called Billionaire. Young Master Qin often goes there to hang out and has a good relationship with him. If you can't do it, you can go and beg him. However, he's greedy and lecherous. It's okay. As long as I can help my brother solve this matter, it doesn't matter if I have to pay some money. Jiang Tao said, okay, let's go. The three of them left the coffee shop and quickly drove to Billionaire Bar. Because it was daytime and the bar wasn't open yet, there were only a few waiters on duty when they entered. Each one should be a regular here. As soon as he entered, the waiters greeted him. So it's young Master He. Welcome. I'm looking for your boss, Brother Cohen. Is he here? Yes, of course. I'll go and get him for you. The waiters quickly ran upstairs. After a while, a middle-aged man in pajamas appeared at the stairs and walked down unsteadily. He was bald, and there was a crescent-shaped scar on his forehead. However, it wasn't in the middle, but at the corner of his eye. It was very ferocious, like a centipede. He Chuan whispered to Jiang Tao and Li Changsheng. Brother Cohen is a big shot in the underworld. He cares about his face the most. We can only sit after Brother Cohen sits down. After that, Jiang Tao hurriedly stood up. Li Changsheng sat on the sofa, motionless. He Chuan couldn't help but frown. However, Brother Cohen had already walked over. He couldn't say anything and greeted him with a smile. Oh, Brother Cohen, it's already so late in the morning and you're still sleeping. It seems that I've disturbed your beautiful dream. Oh, it's young Master He. Why are you looking for me so early in the morning? Brother Cohen went up and held young Master He's hand. He patted young Master He's shoulder with his left hand and looked at Li Changsheng and Jiang Tao in confusion. When he saw Li Changsheng sitting there, he wondered which family's young master was so arrogant. This is Jiang Tao, the young master of the Jiang group. This is, He Chuan scratched his head. This is Jiang Tao's roommate. Indeed, he forgot what Li Changsheng's name was. Brother Cohen curled his lips and sat down. He was an old fox. From He Chuan's introduction, he knew that these two people didn't have much weight. He thought that the person sitting there was a young master from some family, but it turned out to be a country bumpkin who didn't know the rules. Young Master He, you don't come here for no reason. Why are you looking for me? Brother Cohen took out a cigar. He Chuan lit it with a lighter before sitting down. It's like this. My friend is in the same school as young Master Qin. He offended young Master Qin. Brother Cohen, you have a good relationship with young Master Qin, so I want you to make peace. I see. Brother Cohen nodded. It's a small matter. As he spoke, he snapped his fingers and the waiter immediately walked over. Boss, serving tea to our friends. You don't have any sense at all. Yes. The waiter nodded respectfully. Soon, a pot of jasmine tea was served. Li Changsheng happened to be thirsty and drank 3 cups in a row. Brother Cohen didn't say anything, but the disdain in He Chuan's eyes grew. A country bumpkin. He probably hasn't drunk any good tea. How can he drink jasmine tea so well? Tell me, how did he offend young Master Qin? Brother Cohen crossed his legs and kept shaking. Is it because he didn't know young Master Qin's identity and offended young Master Qin? In Brother Cohen's eyes, these people at most offended Qin because they couldn't open their eyes. This kind of thing was easy to settle with his face. He Chuan knew his character. Since he brought these two people here, the money must be a lot. Yeah, Jiang Tao, you said that your friend offended young Master Qin. How did he offend him? He Chuan asked. Jiang Tao called him and vaguely said that he offended young Master Qin. He didn't say anything specific, so He Chuan thought it was nothing serious. That my friend accidentally hit young Master Qin. What? He Chuan was shocked and suddenly sat up straight. The cigar in Brother Cohen's hand fell to the ground. Chapter 45. What? Young Master He and Brother Cohen were shocked. Someone dared to hit young Master Chin in Qingzhou. Brother Cohen took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He arched his body from the sofa and sized up Li Changsheng. Young man, you dare to hit young Master Chin with your physique? My friend knows Kung Fu. Jiang Tao also wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and explained. He didn't dare to tell Yichuan the details because he was afraid that Yichuan would know that Li Changsheng hit young Master Chin. Knows Kung Fu? Brother Cohen snorted. Oomph. Young man, have you heard that those who know Kung Fu die quickly? You're out of your mind. Brother Cohen, can you help me? I'm willing to pay any amount. Jiang Tao said. How much? It doesn't matter how much you hit young Master Chin. Just wait for someone to collect your corpse. Brother Cohen stepped on the cigar and extinguished it as he shook his head. If that's the case, we won't disturb you. Li Changxing stood up and pulled Jiang Tao to leave. Wait, Brother Cohen said coldly. You hit young Master Chin. With my relationship with him, I can't let you go so easily. Jiang Tao's expression froze. Li Changxing's eyes showed a hint of playfulness. Brother Cohen, Jiang Tao was interrupted when he was about to say something. Originally, with my relationship with young Master Chin, since you're here, I can't let you leave. However, young Master, he introduced you to me. Cohen can't break the rules. How about this? This brother drank a lot of my tea just now. You can leave some money for the tea before you leave. Jiang Tao didn't dare to neglect He Chuan's words about Brother Cohen's greedy and lustful personality. He quickly opened his wallet and took out a stack of money and put it on the table. It was about 3,000 to 4,000 yuan in thickness. Not enough. Brother Cohen shook his head and didn't even lift his eyelids. This, Jiang Tao gritted his teeth and took out the rest of the money and put it on the table. It added up to about 10,000 yuan. Are you trying to dismiss a beggar with this little money? Brother Cohen slammed the table and glared. Jiang Tao was so scared that his hands trembled. Brother Cohen, this is all I have. I see that the watch on your hand is not bad. This, Jiang Tao was somewhat hesitant. This watch was a birthday gift from his father, and it was worth more than 100,000 yuan. However, seeing Brother Cohen's unkind expression and He Chuan's nonchalant expression, Jiang Tao clenched his teeth and took off his watch. Just when he was about to put on the table, a hand suddenly grabbed his wrist. He looked up and saw Li Changsheng shaking his head at him. You don't have to give him a watch. After saying that, he directly grabbed the stack of money on the table and stuffed it into Jiang Tao's hands. Don't give him a single cent. 10,000 yuan for 3 cups of lousy tea is not enough. Is he trying to rob me? What did you say? Brother Cohen raised his eyebrows, and his eyes revealed a hint of viciousness. Brother, why don't you find out about my brother Cohen's identity? Since you're not willing to spend money to avoid disaster, then don't leave today. As soon as he said that, he heard a series of footsteps coming from upstairs. Soon, more than 30 burly young men rushed out from the stairs. Among them was a guy with earrings and dyed blonde hair. At first glance, it was obvious that he was the leader. With a beer bottle in his hand, he aggressively walked over. He came up and grabbed Li Changxing's collar. Brat, how dare you talk to Brother Cohen like that? Are you looking for death? In response, Li Changxing did not say anything and kicked the guy's lower abdomen. The guy took a step back, and at the same time, he suddenly grabbed the glass bottle of tea and smashed it on the guy's head. Crash! Hot water and glass shards fell from the guy's head. At the same time, blood dripped down from his colorful hair. You mother***** dare to hit me. The young man cursed. Just as he was about to get angry, Li Changxing grabbed his hair and pulled him down. Li Changxing then used his knee to hit the young man's nose. As soon as Li Changxing let go, the young man fell to the ground. He took down the guy who was the leader of Brother Cohen's underlings in one move. Li Changxing's actions were clean and efficient. Before Brother Cohen and his underlings could react, Li Changxing had already snatched the beer bottle from the blonde's hand. Kacha! The bottle broke on the coffee table. He stepped on the coffee table and pressed the glass bottle in his hand against Brother Cohen's chin. Brother Cohen, I don't have anything to worry about. The only good thing about me is that I have guts. Do you want to know how it feels to have a hole in your neck? Li Changxing's actions completely stunned Brother Cohen. His body stiffened. Quick, let go of Brother Cohen. Brat, put down the beer bottle, or I'll kill you. Brother Cohen's underling shouted. Brother Cohen's eyes flashed with coldness. Little brother, you've got guts. Cohen, have been in the underworld for so many years, and this is the first time I've been threatened. Do you think I'm scared? I don't know if you're scared or not, but I know that if you continue to spout nonsense, I'll poke a hole in your neck. Li Changsheng pushed his hand forward. Brother Cohen was so scared that his neck retreated and pressed against the sofa. The glass shards cut his skin and blood flowed out. At this moment, Brother Cohen's head was covered in cold sweat. He was scared out of his wits just now, and his heart skipped a beat when he looked at the young man's eyes. He thought that Li Changsheng was just scaring him, but now he wasn't sure. He didn't dare to take the risk. If this guy really did come, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. All of you back off. Brother Cohen ordered his underlings. He then said to Li Changsheng, Brother, you can go now, but I'll remember what happened today. Remember your mother. Li Changsheng put the beer bottle back. Just as Brother Cohen let out a sigh of relief, he suddenly grabbed the ashtray on the coffee table and smashed it on his head. This time, the ashtray didn't break, but Brother Cohen's head was bleeding. Brother Cohen, I'll teach you a lesson. Don't be so shameless. After saying that, he pulled the stunned Jiang Tao and strode out of the bar. From the beginning to the end, none of his underlings dared to block the way. He Chuan, who was standing on the side, was scared like a puppet. His hands were trembling. This guy is too cruel. Brother Cohen, are you okay? After Li Changsheng walked out, several of his underlings reacted and hurriedly went forward to support Brother Cohen. Brother Cohen covered his head and scolded. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and chase after him. Kill this kid. Yes. The underlings hurriedly nodded and chased out the door. Just as they went out, they saw a trash can flying towards them. The person in front was directly hit and fell to the ground. Then, they saw Li Changsheng standing at the door of the bar. He pointed at the dumbfounded underlings and scolded, You still dare to chase after me? If you come out again, I'll cripple you. Do you believe me? Standing at the door, he had the aura of one man guarding the pass. Brother Cohen's underlings were dumbfounded. It was their first time seeing such a fierce person. After beating someone in someone else's territory, he didn't run away. Instead, he blocked the door and yelled. Seeing their dumbfounded look, Li Changxing showed his middle finger. Then, he strode into Jiang Tao's BMW and drove away. By the time the group of underlings reacted, Li Changsheng was already nowhere to be seen. Chapter 46. Changsheng, you're in big trouble this time. I know you're good at fighting, but that Brother Cohen is from the underworld. People like him will stab you in the back and do anything. Now that you've provoked young Master Qin in him, you'll be in danger whether you're in school or outside. Jiang Tao's legs were shaking all the way as he drove. Li Changsheng still had the same indifferent expression. Well, stop the car in front and let me down. I have something to do. Li Changsheng remembered that the villa that Su Xiaolin gave him was nearby, so he asked Jiang Tao to stop the car. After walking for about 500 meters, he saw a villa area called Yuani Villa. Li Changsheng planned to go in directly, but he was stopped by the security guard at the door. The reason was that he didn't have an access card. He then remembered that Su Xiaolin did give him an access card, but he threw it in the dormitory. He smiled bitterly. Originally, he thought that since he had his own exclusive place, he could build a spirit-gathering array to cultivate, but now it seemed that he had to postpone it. He had no choice but to take a taxi back to Qingzhou University. Before he could enter the school gate, he received a call from Su Jing. Hello, Li Changsheng, where are you now? I'm at the school gate. What's wrong? Li Changsheng was puzzled. He heard Su Jing's anxious tone. Wei Hu and the other two were beaten up. I'm in the hospital now. Come quickly. What? Li Changsheng couldn't help but frown. After a few days of training, Wang Dongsheng and the other three were equivalent to the peak of clear strength. How could they be beaten up? Before he could think about it, Li Changsheng stopped the taxi that was about to leave and went straight to the Qingzhou City Hospital. To be able to injure Wei Hu and the other two, they had to be at least a master who had reached the level of clear strength. Clear strength masters were like dragons among men and belonged to the first-class martial artists. Even Qin Hao's subordinate, Su Ke, was only at the peak of clear strength. Ordinary martial artists would need at least 10 to 20 years to reach clear strength. Logically speaking, it seemed that Wang Dongsheng and the other three couldn't have offended such a master. Could it be that they're here for me? Along the way, Li Changsheng narrowed his eyes as he sat in the back of the taxi, deep in thought. 20 minutes later, when he arrived at the hospital, he saw Wei Hu and the other two lying on the gurney at the clinic. The three people's strollers were parked in the corridor. They had probably just finished bandaging and had not completed the hospitalization procedures. Even Jin Wenwen's arm was bandaged. As for Wei Hu and Wang Dongsheng, their faces were swollen and their legs were in plaster. Seeing Li Changsheng come in, the three of them suddenly raised their heads and wanted to stand up, but they were stopped by Li Changsheng. All of you are injured. Don't move. Li Changsheng looked at the three of them and knew that their injuries were not light. Otherwise, they would not need to wear plaster casts. What's going on? Li Changsheng's face turned cold. Coach, we've embarrassed you. Wang Dongsheng lowered his head, his face filled with shame. A guy came to our combat room and said he was looking for you. I saw his fierce look, so I asked him why he was looking for you. Then he said he was looking for you, for revenge, so you fought with him? Yes. Wang Dongsheng nodded. But we embarrassed you. The three of us together were not a match for him, and we were beaten up like this. Did he say who sent them? Li Changsheng asked with a frown. Wang Dongsheng shook his head. He didn't say that, but I saw someone following behind him. They seemed to be together. I remember that he was Qin Yi's lackey. Him again. Could it be that Su Ke beat the three of you up like this? Li Changsheng remembered that Su Ke was Qin Hao's strongest follower. But soon he shook his head and dismissed this speculation. Su Ke's strength was at the peak of the obvious strength stage. Although he was stronger than Wang Dongsheng and the other two, it was still impossible for him to beat the three of them like this. No, Su Ke is called Madman Su. I know him. He is a young man, about 27 or 28 years old. His eyes are scary, and his moves are even more ruthless. The three of us were injured by him in less than 3 moves. Speaking of this, Wang Dongsheng's eyes were full of hatred. After he beat us down, he broke my leg and broke 2 of Wei Hu's ribs. He didn't even let Jin Wenwen go. He broke Jin Wenwen's arm directly. Not only did he beat you, but he also broke your legs, ribs, and arms. How cruel. A cold light flashed in Li Changsheng's eyes. Coach Li, don't be impulsive. Qin Yi's father is Qin Hao, the local emperor of Qingzhou. Although you are strong, you can't fight them alone. Although Su Jing was also very angry, she still tried to persuade him. I understand, but this hatred must be avenged. Saying this, he went over to check the injuries of Wang Dongsheng and the others and told them to rest well. Su Jing said that she still had something to do at school in the afternoon, so she left first. She had already completed the procedures and could be admitted to the ward soon. After Su Jing left, Li Changsheng called Chu Yaotian and asked Chu Yaotian to find out where the father and son of the Qin family were now. Chu Yaotian naturally didn't dare to neglect. Also, he heard that Li Changsheng's 3 students were admitted to the hospital, so he immediately arranged for someone to find a good orthopedic doctor to treat them. Li Changsheng said that it was not necessary. They would be fine with rest. After hanging up the phone, a nurse came over. Who was the patient's family member? The nurse was very pretty and asked in a pleasant voice, I am. Li Changsheng raised his hand and gestured, Is the hospitalization procedure done? Let them in quickly. I'm sorry, there are no empty wards now. I'm afraid you have to wait here in the outpatient clinic, where you can leave the hospital and recuperate at home. Li Changsheng couldn't help but frown when he heard this. My friend just said that the hospitalization procedure was done. Why are there no wards? How does your hospital do things? I'm sorry, I don't know about this. As for the hospitalization fee that has been paid, just take the receipt to the window and refund it later. The nurse said coldly with some displeasure on her face. If you have any questions, you can ask our leader. While speaking, a doctor in a white coat came over. The nurse tilted her head and gestured. That's our director. What's the matter? The director frowned when he heard the voice. I told this gentleman that there are no more wards, but this gentleman is a little bit unforgiving. The nurse complained first. Sir, this is a hospital. We all follow the rules of the hospital. You'd better not be unreasonable. Otherwise, I'll call the security. The director's attitude was very tough. How am I unforgiving? Li Chongqing couldn't help but chuckle. Just as he was about to say something, a loud voice sounded. You are Mr. Li, right? Turning around, he saw an old man walking over quickly accompanied by two people. President Yang. The director's face immediately showed some flattery. However, President Yang didn't even look at him. He just walked over quickly and held Li Chongqing's hand. Mr. Li, Elder Chu called me personally just now. The two people behind me are the best orthopedic experts in our hospital. I've already arranged a VIP ward for you. Seeing President Yang's fawning look, the director was immediately dumbfounded. But he just said that there are no more wards. Li Chongqing pointed at the director. The director was so scared that his legs went soft. President Yang gave him a sharp look. Mr. Li, just as President Yang was about to express his stance, Li Chongqing waved his hand. All right, I still have things to do. Remember to find a few more escorts to take care of my friend. After saying that, he turned around and left. Who exactly is he? The director asked cautiously. It's an identity that you can't afford to offend. Write me a review report tomorrow. President Yang snorted coldly and said, Also, half a year ago, someone reported you for accepting red packets. I think I have to find someone to investigate. As soon as he finished speaking, the director's face instantly turned pale. The young nurse next to him stared blankly in the direction Li Chongqing left. He was so impressive just now. If only he was my boyfriend. Chapter 47. When Li Chongqing left the hospital, Su Jing called again. Coach Li, I just got the news that the guy who injured Wang Dongsheng and the others this morning is still in the school's gymnasium. He said he's waiting for you. What? Li Chongqing furrowed his brows, his eyes turning cold. He didn't leave after beating them up. Instead, he's waiting in the same spot. He's really arrogant. Li Chongqing sneered. He then took a taxi back to Qingzhou University. Back at school, Li Chongqing rushed to the gymnasium. As soon as he entered the gymnasium, he found that it was surrounded by many people. Other than the students from the various training teams, there were also some students from outside. When Li Chongqing appeared, many people recognized him immediately. After all, he had just shown his prowess the day before. Coach Li is here. This is going to be a good show. That guy is so arrogant. Coach Li will definitely teach him a lesson. How dare he come to Qingzhou University and behave so atrociously? Coach Li will let him know why the flowers are so red. The students from the various training teams discussed animatedly. They automatically made way for Li Chongqing. Every one of them was stifled with anger. Is this Coach Li very famous? A student outside asked in confusion. Someone immediately explained to him how fierce Li Chongqing was. Soon, there was a burst of exclamations from the crowd. Li Chongqing went directly to the combat room. When he opened the door, he saw a young man in a white coat sitting on the sofa in the combat room. He looked to be at most 27 or 28 years old. He had a quiet temperament as he sat there. When Li Chongqing came in, he suddenly raised his head. There was a flash of light in his eyes. The moment he raised his head, his aura suddenly changed. A sense of sharpness rushed towards him. Sword Chi. Li Chongqing was surprised. He finally knew why the other party could injure Wei Hu and the others. A swordsman was no longer an ordinary martial artist. He could be considered a cultivator. A cultivator had a higher starting point than a martial artist. In the early stages, cultivators could beat up martial artists of the same realm. As Li Changsheng walked in, the back was already crowded with onlookers. At the same time, the young man also stood up and looked at Li Changsheng with suspicion. "Are you their coach?" After injuring Wang Dongsheng and the others, he waited here for 2 hours, but no one dared to push the door open. Looking at Li Changsheng's posture, he vaguely guessed Li Changsheng's identity, but at the same time, he had some doubts. In his opinion, Li Changsheng's footsteps were unsteady, and he couldn't feel the slightest bit of a martial artist's temperament from head to toe. That was why he asked. "Not bad." Li Changsheng nodded. "You beat up my student and waited for me here. Tell me, who ordered you to do this?" "You shouldn't ask that. You just need to know that I'm here to take your life." As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped directly on the coffee table. His figure turned into a series of afterimages in the air and rushed toward Li Changsheng. His 2 fingers formed a line. Although he didn't hold a sword in his hand, the sound of a sword rang out. Using his fingers as a sword meant that the other party's swordsmanship had officially been initiated. Many people behind him exclaimed, "Coach Li, be careful." Someone also cursed, "How shameless. Attacking without even saying hello. What's the difference between this and a sneak attack?" At this moment, in a villa located on the outskirts of Qingzhou, the famous Master Qin, Qin Hao, was sitting on the sofa. On the coffee table in front of him, there was a computer. The computer was playing the scene of Qingzhou University's sparring room. Next to Qin Hao sat his son, Qin Yi, and his nephew, Qin Xian. Behind the sofa, Su Ke was standing respectfully. On both sides of the wall, there was a row of fierce-looking bodyguards dressed in black. "Dad, why didn't you let me go with Zhou Xing? Let me teach that Li Changsheng a lesson and vent my anger." Qin Yi said indignantly. "Yes, second uncle, I also want to trample on that bastard with my own hands." The wound on Qin Xian's forehead was still bandaged. When he spoke, he pulled on the wound and his cheek twitched. "What do you know?" Qin Hao snorted coldly. "This Li Changsheng and that old fart, Chu Yaotian, have a close relationship. If you were to appear, then everyone would know that Zhou Xing was sent by me. But even if we don't appear, Chu Yaotian will guess. Guessing and pointing it out are 2 different things." Qin Hao smiled. In name, Chu Yaotian has retired behind the scenes. All these years, he has been suppressing me. However, that old fart is deeply rooted in Qingzhou City. I can't shake him for the time being. This time, the reason why I let Zhou Xing deal with Li Changsheng is also for one of my plans. I want to cast a long line to catch a big fish. What big fish? Qin Yi and Qin Xian were curious. This Li Changsheng is one of Chu Yaotian's people. As long as Zhou Xing beats up Li Changsheng, Chu Yaotian is bound to come out. At that time, Zhou Xing's master will definitely come out to help his disciple. As long as Zhou Xing's master and Chu Yaotian fight, one of them will be injured. At that time, I can come out to be the Oriole. Hearing Qin Hao's words, Qin Yi and Qin Xian both gave a thumbs up. Dad's second uncle is so smart. Look, Li Changsheng is here. A noise suddenly came from the originally closed screen. The door of the combat room was pushed open, and Li Changsheng's figure appeared on the screen. "Uncle Su, how many moves do you think this Li Changsheng can withstand from Zhou Xing?" Qin Yi looked at Su Ke, who was standing behind the sofa. Su Xian was a martial arts expert. Although his strength was far from Li Changsheng's and Zhou Xing's, he still had a good eye. This Zhou Xing is very strong. I think he has already cultivated concealed strength. As for Li Changsheng, he is not weak either. I guess he should be able to exchange more than 20 moves with Zhou Xing. This kid is so strong. Qin Yi sneered. But so what if he is strong? He definitely can't beat Zhou Xing and will be crippled. In Qin Hao's plan, he wanted Zhou Xing to cripple Li Changsheng. Firstly, he wanted to force Chu Yaotian to come out. Secondly, he wanted to avenge his son and nephew. If Chu Yaotian, that old fart, was willing to marry his daughter into my Qin family, I wouldn't have to spend so much effort scheming. The Chu family has been suppressing my Qin family for so many years. Now it's time for the emperor to take turns. Qin Hao played with a jade picio in his hand, his eyes full of coldness. At this moment, on the computer screen, Zhou Xing had already rushed towards Li Changsheng. Qin Yi and Qin Xian couldn't help but clench their fists, feeling a little excited. Especially Qin Yi, who had been humiliated twice by Li Changsheng, only felt a sense of satisfaction brewing. It was finally time for revenge. Chapter 48. There were many students in the combat room who had come to watch the show. At this moment, their hearts were in their mouths. Zhou Xing rushed towards Li Changsheng. Using 2 fingers as a sword, he carried a sharp, murderous aura. He turned into a shadow in the air and arrived in front of Li Changsheng in the blink of an eye. His sword fingers brought about a sonic boom in the air. Zhou Xing attacked without saying a word. Moreover, his attack was thunderous. It could be seen that Zhou Xing was a ruthless person. He had the intention of severely injuring Li Changsheng right from the start. Zhou Xing moved like an arrow and was as fast as a galloping horse. Before his attack reached Li Changsheng could feel a murderous aura coming at him. No wonder he could defeat Wang Dongsheng and the others so easily. He has already stepped into the threshold of cultivation. Li Changsheng thought to himself. Zhou Xing's sword fingers were already at Li Changsheng's throat. The sharp edge of the sword pierced through the skin all over his body. The power of this sword was so great that it could even penetrate a wooden board that was a few centimeters thick. If an ordinary person was hit, their throat would have been shattered. Ruthless. Many people held their breaths, worried for Li Changsheng. However, Li Changsheng only smiled. He raised his palm and blocked the attack at his throat. Instantly, he saw Zhou Xing's attack land. He blocked Zhou Xing's sword fingers in the blink of an eye. Crack! There was a crisp sound. When Zhou Xing's sharp sword fingers hit Li Changsheng's palm, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. At the same time, Zhou Xing's fingers were instantly twisted under the powerful force, and his finger bones were broken. Zhou Xing felt intense pain and hurriedly retreated. Seeing the 2 twisted fingers, Zhou Xing's eyes were filled with horror. He reached for his waist and pulled out a flexible sword. With a flick of his wrist, the flexible sword attacked Li Changsheng's heart like a snake. In response, Li Changsheng's palm struck down and deflected Zhou Xing's flexible sword. At the same time, he grabbed Zhou Xing's collar and elbowed him in the abdomen. Zhou Xing felt pain in his abdomen. His entire body flew backward as though he was riding on clouds. He flew 5 meters before landing on the ground with a pained look on his face. Good lad! A ferocious glint flashed in Zhou Xing's eyes as he leaped up from the ground like a carp. Then, his sword light vibrated, producing a sword hum as he slashed towards Li Changsheng. If the sword were to hit its target, its head would be split in half. In response, Li Changsheng blocked again. At the same time, his other hand grabbed Zhou Xing's wrist with lightning speed and squeezed hard. Zhou Xing immediately felt a piercing pain from her wrist, and she couldn't react in time. Li Changsheng turned around and swung his leg, sending Zhou Xing flying again. This time, he was sent flying for more than 10 meters before crashing into the wall. When he landed, he felt as if his entire body had fallen apart. He tried to get up several times, but he was unable to do so. With great difficulty, he used his left arm to support himself on the ground. Just as he was about to stand up, Li Changsheng stepped on his back and pressed him down again. How dare you injure my students? How can I let you off so easily? I broke 2 of your fingers and your wrist to offset the injuries you inflicted on Jin Wenwen and Wang Dali. Wang Dongxing's part is still missing. I'll break one of your legs. Are you convinced? Upon hearing Li Changsheng's words, Zhou Xing wanted to say that he was not convinced. However, when he met Li Changsheng's cold eyes, he didn't dare to speak again. He knew that he had already experienced Li Changsheng's horror and knew the character of the young man in front of him. If he dared to say that he was not convinced, he would definitely die a horrible death. At this moment, there was a burst of applause. The surrounding students were all cheering for Li Changsheng. After all, Li Changsheng was the coach of Qingzhou University and was regarded as one of their own. On the other hand, Zhou Xing was an outsider. Of course, they were happy that Zhou Xing had been taught a lesson. Since you're not saying anything, I'll take it that you agree. I'll break one of your legs now. As soon as Li Chongsheng finished speaking, he was about to make a move. Wait a minute, Zhou Xing shouted. Friend, don't be so ruthless. My master is Ding Qingyang of Qingzhou. Ding Qingyang? Li Chongsheng shook his head. So what? Even if it's the Jade Emperor, I'll break your leg. Zhou Xing's eyes were full of resentment. My master is the #1 master of Qingzhou, known as the Little Martial God. I don't care who he is. Li Chongsheng sneered, then abruptly stomped down. Gotcha! There was a crisp sound. Many people couldn't bear to turn their heads, while Zhou Xing screamed like a pig being slaughtered. He didn't expect that after he said the name of his master, the other side would still step on his leg bones so unscrupulously. In the villa of the Qin family in Qingzhou, Qin Hao had stood up with a face full of surprise. How could this be? Zhou Xing is no match for Li Chongsheng. What should we do? Qin, he was also a little flustered. This guy is so powerful. It's okay. Qin Hao suddenly calmed down and smiled coldly. Then, he took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this Mr. Ding? Let me tell you some unfortunate news. Your only apprentice, Zhou Xing, was beaten in the gymnasium of Qingzhou University. Yes, it seems that his leg bones and wrist were broken. After hanging up the phone, Qin Hao sneered. Although Li Chongqing's fighting power is beyond my expectation, it doesn't matter. The plan can still be carried out. He hurt Zhou Xing, and Zhou Xing's master will not stand by and watch. When Zhou Xing's master finishes Li Chongsheng, Chu Yaotian will naturally take action. Although things have gone wrong, they will still return to the original track. Qin Yi and others breathed a sigh of relief. Dad, you are really astute. No, you are really smart. Ha! Ha! There was a burst of laughter in the villa. At the moment, in the gymnasium, Zhou Xing was full of cold sweat, screaming in pain. After a long time, the screams subsided, but looking at the way he kept breathing, it was obvious that he was still in pain. Brat, although you've accepted the punishment, you've injured 3 of my students. You should compensate them for their medical expenses. How about this? You take out 300,000 yuan as compensation for them. Li Chongqing squatted down and looked at Zhou Xing with a smile. You are a demon, Zhou Xing said, gritting his teeth. The reason why he was willing to deal with Li Chongqing this time was that Qin Hao gave him 300,000 yuan as a reward. He didn't expect that not only was he seriously injured by Li Chongqing, but now he even had a hand over 300,000 yuan. However, he didn't dare to not hand it over, because he could see the character of the young man in front of him. If he didn't hand it over, he would really kill him. Okay, I will hand it over. Zhou Xing took out his mobile phone from his bag with difficulty and was about to transfer the money to Li Chongqing on the spot. At this moment, the phone screen suddenly lit up, followed by a ringtone. When he saw the name displayed on the screen, his face showed ecstasy, and he pressed the answer button. Zhou Xing, who dares to injure you? He must have eaten the guts of a leopard. Don't panic, I am now at the entrance of Qingzhou University. An angry voice came from the other end of the phone. After hanging up, Zhou Xing's eyes were filled with excitement. My master is coming, my master is coming. He looked at Li Chongsheng with hatred. I will not transfer the money to you. Boy, my master is coming. You are dead meat. He will avenge me, ha. Zhou Xing knew his master's strength. Initially, he wanted to seek revenge on Li Chongsheng in the future, but he didn't expect his master to come at this time. The heavens were really watching over him. Thinking of his master's means, he would definitely beat the crap out of this despicable guy in front of him. Zhou Xing was so agitated that his body was already trembling. Chapter 49. Zhou Xing's master is coming. Many of the people around were stunned. Zhou Xing's strength is so terrifying. Wouldn't his master be even more powerful? Can Coach Li deal with him? Many people looked worried. Zhou Xing might not be as powerful as Li Chongsheng, but his master must be very powerful. Didn't you see that Zhou Xing beat Wang Dongsheng and the others until they couldn't fight back? Li Changsheng beat up his disciple. His master must be here to take revenge. Everyone around was discussing. Ha! Li, I want you to die. I want you to die without a burial place. My master is here. Just wait for your death. Ha! Ha! Zhou Xing laughed maniacally. He had suffered too much humiliation today. His wrist and leg had been broken. This hatred couldn't be washed away by all the water in the rivers. He must make Li Changsheng pay the price. It would be best if his master could kill this bastard with one stroke of his sword. He knew his master's strength and knew that his master would dare to do so. Killing a mortal was nothing to a Mount Shu swordsman. At this moment, in the Qin family's villa on the outskirts of Qingzhou, Qin Hao and his son looked smug. Li Changsheng has offended the Qin family time and time again. Let's see if he dies today, Qin Hao said in a cold voice. He knew Mr. Ding's strength too well. He was known as the #1 master in Qingzhou. He had only made a move once, and he had slashed a big shot in Qingzhou who had been running rampant in Jianghu for many years. He was definitely a ruthless character. Although Qin Hao had the power to overturn Qingzhou, he was also frightened when facing that person. He had met him once on the street. Just one look from him made him feel as if he had fallen into a cold cellar. Li Changsheng seriously injured Ding, Qingyang's disciple. With Ding's temper, he would probably kill him with one stroke. Once Li Changsheng dies, Chu Yaotian will definitely make a move. It would be best if Mr. Chu Yaotian could kill that old bastard too. That Ding guy has been in Qingzhou for so long and has no intention of dominating Qingzhou. I will be the one to take the stage then. Qin Hao put his hands on the sofa and crossed his legs. He had a cigar in his mouth as he fantasized about dominating Qingzhou. His eyes shone with a wild light. At this moment, the combat room fell into silence. Everyone was worried. They were all on Li Changsheng's side. At the same time, most people were not optimistic about Li Changsheng's chances. Although they hoped that Li Changsheng would win, they also knew that Li Changsheng might not be able to defeat someone who had taught such a terrifying disciple like Zhou Xing. Of course, the sports team members who had seen Li Changsheng defeat boxing champion On Ming that day felt that no matter how terrifying the opponent was, Li Changsheng still had a 50% chance of winning. After all, the scene that day was too shocking. At this time, Su Jing also squeezed out of the crowd. When she heard that Zhou Xing had a master, she hurriedly said to Li Changsheng, Coach Li, I know that you are very strong, but no one knows how strong the opponent is. I don't think you need to go head-to-head with him. Why don't I give Headmaster Chen a call and ask him to send someone to help? After all, this is a school. It is not a place for outsiders to behave atrociously. Hearing Su Jing's words, Li Changsheng shook his head. No need. I want to see what kind of person his master is. Besides, it's too late. What do you mean? Su Jing was stunned. She heard the crowd automatically open up a path, and a middle-aged man strode in. The man was wearing a set of martial arts training attire made of silk and satin. He looked very elegant as he walked. However, at this moment, there was an awe-inspiring, murderous aura on his body. This murderous aura was formless but real. From the beginning to the end, he didn't say anything, but the surrounding students all automatically made way for him and kept a distance from him. The man walked in unhurriedly. The moment he entered the combat room, the temperature in the entire room dropped. Disciple, who beat you up like this? When the man saw Zhou Xing lying on the ground, a cold light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, a majestic sword intent swept through the room like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. Under the sword intent, Su Jing's face turned pale and bloodless. At this moment, Li Changsheng's palm gently rested on her shoulder. In an instant, the chill on Su Jing's body disappeared, and a warm current spread throughout her body. Today, Su Jing was wearing a thin short-sleeved shirt. When Li Changsheng's palm rested on her shoulder, she could clearly feel the warmth of his palm. She could not help but blush slightly. In all her life, other than her family, this was the first time she had been so intimately touched by a man. Although there was a layer of clothes between them, her cheeks still felt hot. However, she did not avoid it, because this feeling was very warm and comfortable. Master, you're finally here. Zhou Xing's eyes were filled with tears. He pointed at Li Changsheng and said loudly, "It's him. He's the one who injured me. My wrist is broken, and my leg is broken. Master, you must avenge me. This guy is too cruel." Zhou Xing seemed to have seen his savior. He had finally waited for his master to come. He could avenge him. "Li, my master will tear you into pieces. You still want me to compensate and humiliate me. I want you to pay back double." The man raised his head and looked at Li Changsheng. After seeing Li Changsheng's face clearly, he could not help but be stunned. "Master, hurry up and chop him into pieces. I want him dead." Zhou Xing yelled loudly. However, he found his master, Ding Qingyang, standing there in a daze like a clay sculpture. He could not help but be suspicious. "What's going on?" Many students in the surroundings also noticed the abnormality. This was because even the frosty aura had disappeared. "Why do I feel that Zhou Xing's master seems to be afraid?" Someone muttered. "But how is this possible? He's Zhou Xing's master. He should be very powerful. Why would he be afraid?" Time ticked by. After a full minute, Ding Qingyang still did not make a move. Many people in the crowd had already started whispering to each other. At this time, even the slowest person could tell that something was wrong. "Master, Master, hurry up and avenge your disciple." Zhou Xing was also a little anxious. "It's you. He's actually your disciple. Take your disciple and leave." Li Changsheng said indifferently. The person who came was none other than the shopkeeper of the 100 Herb Hall on Xinglong Street. Last time, he had asked Wang Dongsheng to buy some medicine. The shopkeeper had given him a few spiritual herbs, which had helped Wang Dongsheng recover from his injury in half a day. Li Changsheng never owed anyone a favor, so he said that. "What?" As soon as Li Changsheng finished speaking, the surrounding people were stunned. "What do you mean? He came here aggressively to take revenge. How could he leave just because of a word from you?" Moreover, Li Changsheng's tone sounded as if he was showing mercy. "Are you kidding me? Boy, have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? You want my master to leave just like that? Dream on. My master will chop you in half with his sword." Zhou Xing shouted arrogantly. "Is that so?" Li Changsheng smiled and looked at Ding Qingyang. After 3 seconds of silence, Ding Qingyang slowly lowered his head and replied, "Okay, my disciple has offended you. I'll take my leave." Chapter 50. Silence. There was a deathly silence. No one had expected Zhou Xing's master to come in such an aggressive manner and leave just because of Li Changsheng's words. How is this possible? Isn't this too unbelievable? How can this be? Everyone was a little dumbfounded, unable to understand the reason behind it. Not only were the onlookers confused, but even Zhou Xing could not understand. "Master, he hurt me and wants me to pay him 300,000 yuan. I can't just let this go." 300,000 yuan? So what if it's 3 million yuan? Mr. Li wants you to pay, so you pay. Ding Qingyang's words made Zhou Xing a little confused. Was this still his incomparably fierce master? How did it become like this? Why did it seem like he was very wary of this Li Changsheng, even a little fearful of him? Why was this? Ding Qingyang cupped his hands at Li Changsheng. "Since Mr. Li wants 300,000 yuan for medical expenses, I'll pay for it on behalf of my disciple." As he spoke, he took out a check, wrote down 300,000 yuan, and handed it to Li Changsheng. "I didn't expect a Shushan sect disciple like you to keep up with the times." Li Changsheng did not refuse. This was what Wang Dongsheng and the others deserved. He took the check casually. "By the way, Mr. Li, I'm preparing the herbs you asked for. It should be ready in about 10 days. Also, please send my regards to the person behind you." Li Changsheng was stunned for a moment, but he quickly understood. The other party had misunderstood that there was an expert behind him. He did not point it out and smiled mysteriously. "Forgive me for not seeing you off. I'll go to the store to get the herbs in a few days." With that, the other party bowed to Li Changsheng again, then grabbed Zhou Xing from the ground and strode out of the combat room. Zhou Xing, who weighed more than 50 kilograms, was as easy as taking a bag of food in his hands. Seeing that the other party had left, the combat room gradually became noisy. Looks like Zhou Xing's master is really afraid of Coach Li. Who exactly is Coach Li? Could he have been defeated by Coach Li? Looks like this Coach Li is not simple. Everyone was discussing. Su Jing was also puzzled. However, Li Changsheng didn't intend to explain to her. He handed the check directly to Su Jing and said, "Help me change the money in the check into cash, and then give it to Wang Dongsheng and the other two." Without waiting for Su Jing's reply, he turned around and strode out of the combat room. At this moment, in the Qin family's villa in the suburbs, Qin Hao and the others were completely dumbfounded. How could this be? Why did Ding Qingyang leave before he did anything? They could only see the image, but they couldn't hear the conversation. Their faces were filled with confusion. This Li Changsheng is so powerful. Is he friends with Ding Qingyang? This is not good. Qin Hao's eyes flickered. I just called Ding Qingyang. Given Chu Yaoyin's intelligence, he must have guessed that I was the one behind all this. It seems that we have to strike first to gain the upper hand. Qin Hao's expression was grave, his face cold and gloomy. He took out his phone and dialed a number. "Hello, Brother Long, it's me." "Yes, I've thought about what you said last time. I'm willing to cooperate with Brother Long and be your henchman." At this moment, Li Changsheng had returned to the dormitory. When he opened the door, Jiang Tao and the other two were playing Mobile Legends. When they saw Li Changsheng, their faces lit up. "Changsheng, you're back. We were just talking about you. Don't run around these few days. If you offend Brother Cohen, I'm afraid he will find someone to deal with you." "It's okay." Li Changsheng waved his hand casually and walked to the bed to sit down. Seeing the 3 boxes neatly stacked under his bed, he guessed that Su Xiaolin's men had sent them here. He took out the boxes and opened them. Sure enough, he saw boxes of tea leaves neatly stacked. Looking up, he saw Jiang Tao's puzzled eyes and said with a smile, "These are from my hometown. My hometown produces tea. These tea leaves are free. You can take them when you want to drink them." "I see." The puzzlement in Jiang Tao's eyes disappeared. "I was wondering how you got 3 boxes of tea leaves." As for Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan, they continued to immerse themselves in the game. They were not interested in drinking tea. "Jiang Tao, hurry up and play the game. The towers on the top lane have been destroyed." Okay. Jiang Tao hurriedly picked up his phone and said while playing, "Last time, I told you that we would go to Chuzhou City together for my girlfriend's birthday. Do you still remember? Next Sunday, let's go officially, okay?" Okay. Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan said at the same time. Li Changsheng smiled and nodded. Wang Dongsheng and the others were in the hospital, and Ding Qingyang didn't have enough medicine. It was a good opportunity for him to relax. "Changsheng, have you heard? There's a female teacher in the finance department. She's in her 20s, and she's so pretty. Her classes are all full. Now, on the school forum, she's already been named the #1 goddess of Qingzhou University." Jiang Tao and the other two were playing the game. In the end, because they were not focused, the tower in their hometown was destroyed. He threw his phone on the bed and said excitedly, "I haven't heard." Li Changsheng shook his head. He was not very good at using his phone. What forum? Was there any difference between a forum and a flower bed? Looking at Li Changsheng's confused face, Jiang Tao couldn't help but shake his head. "Changsheng, sometimes I wonder which isolated mountain village you came from. You don't even know about the forum. I also heard that the female teacher has been in the limelight recently. I don't understand. The 4 goddesses are so beautiful. No matter how beautiful she is, how can she be more beautiful than them?" Hearing Zhang Xiaofeng's words, Yang Fan couldn't help but curl his lips. "What do you know? Although the 4 goddesses are beautiful, they are too young. They don't have the charm of teacher Xiaowan." "Xiaowan?" Li Changsheng showed a puzzled look. "That teacher is called Wu Xiaowan. She is now popular on the internet. Her Weibo fans have exceeded 1 million. Changsheng, you must go to a finance class. It is popular in the school now. If you don't see Wu Xiaowan in your life, it will be useless even if you have more than 10,000 books." Yang Fan said with a look of admiration. "You are blinded by lust." After staying with a few people in the dormitory for a long time, Li Changsheng also had a bit of a youthful aura. "When I have time, I will also go to a finance class. Li Chongqing said with a smile. At this time, Jiang Tao's phone suddenly rang. When he saw the caller ID, he made a gesture of silence to the people present and then whispered, "It's Huang Suan." Huang Suan was the nickname of Director Huang in Dormitory 305 because Director Huang always pretended to be gentle. Although Jiang Tao and the others sometimes wanted to please him, they actually couldn't bear to see his snobbish appearance. "Hello, Director Huang." Jiang Tao picked up the phone, and his voice instantly became cordial. "Oh." As he spoke, he looked at Li Chongsheng. Okay. After hanging up the phone, he said, "Chongsheng, is your phone turned off?" Director Huang said that Headmaster Chun was looking for you. He couldn't get through to you, so he called me and asked you to go to the headmaster's office now. Okay. Li Chongsheng nodded. By the way, Chongsheng, why is Headmaster Chun looking for you? You didn't make any mistakes, did you? I heard that Headmaster Chun can't tolerate sand in his eyes. Jiang Tao said with some worry. After he entered this university, his family originally wanted to invite Chen Ligua to have a meal and asked Chen Ligua to take care of him, but Chen Ligua directly refused. In his impression, Headmaster Chun was much more difficult to deal with than Director Huang. Don't worry, it's probably because I'm a special enrollment student. As for how he joined Qingzhou University halfway, Li Chongsheng explained to his roommates that because he was good at fighting, he won glory for the country in a fighting competition and was selected as a seeded player of the national team. Therefore, he was qualified to study at Qingzhou University. Chapter 51. Hearing Li Chongsheng's explanation, Jiang Tao and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Li Chongsheng had been in the limelight recently and had offended too many people that they didn't even dare to think about before. However, on second thought, Li Chongsheng, who had just arrived at the school, seemed to have no interaction with the high and mighty Headmaster Chun except for his status as a specially enrolled student. After leaving the dormitory, he went straight to Chun Ligua's office. On the way, he met Director Huang in front of the teaching building, who had a flattering face. Li Chongqing greeted him and left. He didn't want to have too much contact with such a flattering person. When he came to the headmaster's office and opened the door, Chen Ligua had already made a cup of tea for Li Chongqing. Mr. Li. He looked at the mysterious young man in front of him with a complicated expression. Li Chongqing's background made him increasingly unable to see through. At first, it was because his teacher, Chu Yaotian, had solemnly told him to treat Li Chongqing with respect. At that time, he thought that Li Chongqing was the son of some high-ranking official or the son of some financial tycoon. To be honest, he didn't think much of it at first. After all, Chen Ligua was a scholar. A scholar would naturally laugh at nobles and have a sense of nobility in his bones. Even if he was already in deep mud and was extremely muddy, he still believed that he could emerge from the mud unsullied. However, since Li Chongqing broke out with terrifying strength during the exam, he felt that Li Chongqing was more and more unfathomable. At the same time, there was a trace of reverence in his heart. Although martial arts had gradually become a low-level strength in today's society, anything that went beyond the normal range would be very terrifying. "What do you want from me?" Li Chongqing walked to the sofa and sat down. He didn't touch the tea on the table, but looked at Chen Ligua with a puzzled expression. "Mr. Li, I have a favor to ask of you." Chen Ligua's attitude was very respectful. He had no choice but to be. After the exam, he received a call from Chu Yaotian when he left the gymnasium. His teacher, who almost never got angry, flew into a rage and fiercely reprimanded him. The reason was because he had arranged for Li Chongsheng to go to Qingzhou University, but he was targeted by others. Chu Yaotian thought that this was Chen Ligua's dereliction of duty and a sign of incompetence. "What is it? Speak," Li Chongsheng said indifferently. "It's like this. I have a classmate who does business. He has a very strong background and is also a very capable person. However, his son is a born dandy. He doesn't learn good things all day long. Relying on his family's wealth and power, he indulges in sensual pleasures and indulges in debauchery. My friend is very good at controlling his subordinates, but his son can't be controlled no matter how hard he tries. So my friend called me and asked me to help introduce someone to control his son. So I thought of you, sir. Why me? Li Changsheng asked with interest. Wang Dongsheng, Wei Hu, and the others are all famous troublemakers in the school. No one can control them, but you have subdued them. I think that only someone like you can control my friend's son. Are you saying that I'm ruthless enough? No, no. Chen Ligua hurriedly shook his head. At first, I also thought that you were too heavy-handed in managing the fighting team. But it turned out that what you did was right. If you don't cut a jade, you won't be useful. If you don't fight, you won't be useful. So it's like this. Do you know what the reward is? Li Changxing's interest was piqued. Starting over in this world, this era was developing too fast. If he wanted to quickly integrate into this new world, he had to constantly try various roles. Of course, Li Changsheng was not short of money, but he knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. He was never a saint. Of course, my classmate said that as long as you can control his son, he is willing to give you a monthly salary of 200,000 yuan. Even Li Changxing's eyes lit up. 200,000 yuan a month. This was really a big deal. Okay, I agree. When will you take me to meet this new student? I can do it now. My old friend's secretary is waiting in the parking lot downstairs. I told him about Mr. Li's deeds. It just so happens that he also wants his son to learn kung fu to strengthen his body. His son is still young, but his body is almost hollowed out by wine and women. After that, Li Changsheng and Chen Ligua walked out of the principal's office together and went downstairs. A few minutes after they left, at the right corner of the principal's office, Su Jing patted her chest and let out a long sigh of relief. Just now, she was going to report to Chen Ligua about her work. In the end, she saw that the door was not closed tightly. Looking through the crack, she saw that Li Changsheng was also inside. She was going to knock on the door and enter, but she heard the conversation between the two inside, which shocked her. She always thought that Li Changsheng went through Chen Ligua's back door and should have entered Qingzhou University because of Chen Ligua's relationship. But the scene just now completely subverted her conjecture. Chen Ligua, the principal of a university, actually addressed Li Changsheng respectfully. From the beginning to the end, his attitude was incomparably respectful. And from a few words of their conversation, Chen Ligua's attitude towards Li Changsheng was a bit like a subordinate to a superior, which made people ponder. This scene was really strange. What is his background? Su Jing was confused for a moment. Thinking of the bold words that Li Changsheng usually said inadvertently, sometimes she felt that Li Changsheng was talking big. But at this moment, she finally realized that perhaps she had never seen the true face of Lu Shan. She did not know that this coach Li Changsheng was a real Buddha. Coming to the parking lot, a Bentley was parked there. Seeing Chen Ligua coming, the door opened and a young man, about 27 or 28 years old, came out. Chen Ligua introduced, "This is my classmate's driver, Xiao Peng, and this is Mr. Li." The young driver, Xiao Peng, showed a bit of surprise on his face. He looked up and down at Li Changsheng. Although he did not say anything, his eyes were clearly suspicious. The reason why he was here was because he listened to the boss's arrangement. The boss said that he wanted to find a master to discipline his family's playboy young master. He originally thought that the other party would either be a knowledgeable educator like Chen Ligua, or someone with an extraordinary aura that could suppress many people with just his aura. But the Li Changsheng in front of him obviously did not have any of these. He had an ordinary face, simple clothes, and a mediocre temperament that could be completely ignored on the street. If Chen Ligua did not personally lead Li Changsheng to his car, he would never believe that this was the powerful person that Chen Ligua mentioned. "Mr. Li, please come in." Xiao Peng, the driver, naturally knew what to say and what not to say. Even if he had doubts in his heart, he would not say out loud. Chen Ligua was a very smart person. He could guess what the driver was thinking from his expression. He just smiled. He thought to himself, "When you see this, Mr. Li, you will understand that I am not exaggerating at all." Chapter 52. Chen Ligua's friend was called Lu Xiong, who was said to be a businessman. Li Changsheng didn't ask about the details. His son lived in a neighborhood near the high school. Because Lu Xiong was too busy with his business, he could only see his son a few times throughout the year. He had no time to discipline him, so he specially hired a nanny to take care of his son's food, accommodation, and transportation. This was also the root cause of his son's arrogant and rebellious character. After Qin Liguo left, Li Changsheng was driven by Lu Xiong's driver to the neighborhood where Lu Xiong's son lived. Today was Saturday. Lu Xiong's son, Lu Duo, didn't need to go to school, so he stayed at home. When he came to the door and pressed the doorbell, a middle-aged woman in her 40s opened the door. Hearing that Li Changsheng was the disciplined teacher hired by Lu Xiong, she couldn't help but have a strange look in her eyes. She muttered, "This should be the 19th one." After entering the house, the nanny hesitated for a moment, but still kindly reminded Li Changsheng, "I say, young man, you can't do the job of a teacher. You'd better leave early. Our young master is Sun Wukong, the Lord of Uproar in heaven. He's not someone you can subdue." In this regard, Li Changsheng just smiled. "Don't worry, I'm Buddha." "What?" The nanny shook her head and turned to the kitchen. As she walked, she muttered, "Another unlucky guy who won't cry until he sees the coffin." Li Changsheng had just sat down on the sofa when he heard footsteps coming from the corridor. "Xiao Peng, I heard that my dad found another reckless guy to be my discipline teacher. Is it true?" As a voice came out, a child in a bathrobe with messy hair walked out. When he saw Li Changsheng sitting on the sofa, he couldn't help but curl his lips. "This guy's hair is not even fully grown, yet he wants to be my teacher. Is he qualified?" The driver, Xiao Peng, hurriedly said, "Young master, you can't be rude to Mr. Li, huh? Mister? Is this grandson even worthy? You'd better clean your mouth." Li Changsheng heard their conversation and already knew that this was the son of the devil incarnate that Qin Liguo's friend had mentioned. It was just that he had heard that Lu Xiong was a very powerful businessman, and his son was really unsightly. "Yo, you're throwing a tantrum," Lu Duo sneered. He pointed upstairs and said, "Come with me." After saying that, she walked up the stairs without looking back. "Mr. Li, my young master doesn't know any better," the driver named Xiao Peng hurriedly explained. After all, Li Changsheng was someone introduced by Qin Liguo. "It's all right." Li Changsheng smiled and followed him up the stairs. As soon as he went up the stairs, Lu Duo stepped forward and grabbed Li Changsheng's neck. He said fiercely, "Brat, I don't care how awesome you are, but I don't need anyone to discipline me, so you'd better get out of this house obediently. Otherwise, I won't be polite to you." Li Changsheng didn't expect Lu Xiong's son to have such a personality. No wonder the nanny told him to leave quickly. However, how could he be frightened by a little kid? He immediately shook his head and said, "This won't do. Your father gives me a salary of 200,000 yuan a month. Unless you give me 1,000,000 yuan now, I will immediately turn around and leave." "1 million? Are you crazy?" Lu Duo scolded. "Brat, you really won't shed tears until you see the coffin." After saying that, he directly pulled Li Changsheng to a nearby table by the collar, and then slapped a piece of white paper on the table in front of Li Changsheng. There was a long list of names on the white paper. "Do you see? The first one, this brat also tried to brainwash me like you, acting recklessly. Finally, I found a few underlings, put him in a sack, and threw him into the latrine pit. The second one, I asked people to put nails under his wheels every day for a week, and he obediently went home. And this guy, his mouth was the most stubborn. He wanted to complain to my father. I didn't do anything to him, just broke his leg bones." After saying that, he looked at Li Changsheng with a complacent face. "What do you mean?" Li Changsheng had a playful look on his face. "What I mean? Are you playing dumb with me?" Lu Duo stretched out his hand and patted Li Changsheng's face. "Brat, no matter how much my father said to give you, you better get out of here. Otherwise, I will beat you up." Li Changsheng calmly looked at Lu Duo, who was standing in front of him with an arrogant face. He thought in his heart that Lu Xiong could be considered an outstanding person, but his son was simply a devil incarnate. He didn't inherit any of Lu Xiong's good points, but he learned his arrogance incisively and vividly. No wonder the nanny reminded him to leave early. With such a student, which tutor would be able to do the job? Brat, I advise you to be more polite. I am your teacher. You have to at least maintain basic respect for me. Li Changsheng chuckled and shook his head. If he couldn't even control this brat, then he should just kill himself. What did you say? Respect? Lu Duo sneered. Brat, 200,000 yuan per month is indeed very high, but you have to be alive to spend it. Do you believe that I will break your legs as soon as you walk out of this door? This Lu Duo relied on his father Lu Xiong's name to act tyrannically in the school. Many of Qing Zhou's rich second generation were trampled upon by him. When they saw him, they would obediently call him Master Lu. How could they place the ordinary Li Changsheng in their eyes? He picked up the lighter from the table and lit a cigarette for himself. Then, he very frivolously blew a pile of smoke in front of Li Changsheng's face. He used a very arrogant voice to point at Li Changsheng's nose and said loudly, Brat, I will give you a minute to think about it. Obediently get out of this room, or else I will not be polite to you. Lu Duo felt that he needed to let this brat in front of him understand the current situation. Don't think that he could really suppress him with his father's instructions. With his family, even if he squandered money every day, he would not be able to spend it all his life. What was the use of making progress? Lu Duo had already chased away 18 education authorities in a row. He did not put the seemingly weak Li Changsheng in his eyes at all. He had the means to make this young man submit again. In the room on the second floor, Li Changsheng's expression was calm, while Lu Duo was murderous. One of them had a calm face, while the other had a provocative face. It was as if a battle would start at any time. Lu Duo originally wanted to use the deeds of the previous few to scare away this guy, who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, he did not expect that the other party would be so stubborn. He actually dared to look at him, which made him very angry. Lu Duo held a jade ring on his finger. His eyes were filled with gloominess and coldness. He looked very much like his father Lu Xiong when he was angry. Although the son of a tiger and leopard had not formed a pattern, he already had the aura of a bull. Lu Duo was a tyrant in the school, and he also had some domineering aura. You want to make a move on me? Li Changsheng's voice broke the silence in front of him. So, what if I make a move on you? Lu Duo snorted coldly. Kid, my patience is limited. If you obediently get down the stairs now, I'll pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you'll be able to walk out of this room today. You might crawl out like a dead dog, or you might lie in an ambulance for a year or so. Don't worry, I'll definitely pay you the medical fees. My Lu family doesn't lack money. Lie your ass. Li Changsheng really did not have the patience to listen to a brat pointing at his nose. He directly reached out and grabbed the other party's collar. Then, he kneed the other party's lower abdomen. Chapter 53. Boom! Li Changsheng didn't use much strength this time, but with his physique, even 1,000th of his strength is enough to split gold and split stone. So Lu Duo, who was still arrogant just now, was directly knocked out and hit the wall behind him, making the whole room seem to tremble slightly. Without waiting for Lu Duo to react, Li Changsheng hooked his leg at his ankle, making Lu Duo fall to the ground, and his head had an intimate contact with the floor. This was just the beginning. Li Changsheng took a step forward and pulled up the dizzy Lu Duo by the collar, pressing him against the wall. Facing the face that could be considered handsome and somewhat immature, Li Changsheng fiercely smashed his fists on the left and right sides of his face like a street ruffian fighting tortoise. Bang bang! Lu Duo, who has always been known for his ruthlessness in the school, directly squatted down along the wall after Li Changsheng stopped, covering his cheek, and his body trembled slightly, like a cooked shrimp. Li Changsheng didn't continue to attack, but pulled out the swivel chair next to the computer desk and sat down, picked up a cigarette on the table, and lit it, quietly looking at Lu Duo, who squatted by the wall and stared at him fiercely like a little beast. What? You're not convinced. Then you could try to attack, but I can't guarantee that you won't lack any parts on your body. Li Changsheng swung his legs. I'm Lu Xiong's son. You dare to hit me. After a long time, Lu Duo covered his swollen face and said in a hoarse voice. Li Changsheng curled his lips. Since Lu Xiong asked me to teach you, then I have to let you know what are the rules. If you don't believe in heresy, you can try. Li Changsheng put the half-smoked cigarette on the table and slowly stood up. Seeing Li Changsheng stand up, Lu Duo subconsciously stepped back, but found that behind him was a wall. Lu Duo leaned against the corner, staring at Li Changsheng with a vigilant face. He saw a dumbbell that he usually used for training not far from him. He tried to use the dumbbell to knock down the guy who dared to attack him. However, when he thought of Li Changsheng's terrifying battle prowess, he gave up on this idea. Li Changsheng was too strong, and the difference in their battle prowess was too great. As far as Lu Duo was concerned, this seemingly harmless fellow in front of him had already made him suffer enough. He really wanted to deal with Li Changsheng like he had dealt with the others and scare him until he pissed his pants. However, he also understood that Li Changsheng was different from the others. This guy was too ruthless. If he really lost a part of his body, then he would be in deep trouble. In the past, among the 18 tutors, there were some who had strong fighting power. One of them had learned Sanda, but in the end, he still left with his tail between his legs. Even if Lu Xiong's salary was dozens of times higher than the industry salary, he was still Lu Xiong's son. Who would dare to really be ruthless to him? However, Li Changsheng was obviously different from those people, because he dared to really hit people. This was something that no one else dared to do. Since you don't dare to do it, then smoke a cigarette. Li Changsheng threw the box of Zhonghua cigarettes on the table to Lu Duo. I'm not afraid of you. When you get out of this door, I'll have someone break your legs. Although Lu Duo's voice was trembling when facing Li Changsheng at the moment, he was still very stubborn. Originally, according to his character, he had already cursed Li Changsheng at this moment. However, when he thought of Li Changsheng's sharp and ruthless means, he finally suppressed the words in his heart. He took out a cigarette from the cigarette box, lit it, and sucked fiercely. His face gradually distorted in the clouds. I heard from your father that you don't study well and mess around in society every day. I heard that you have a group of brothers under you. In my opinion, it's just a motley crew. I know what you're thinking. You think that you can't beat me alone. After that, you'll gather a group of people to settle the account. You can call them now, but I can guarantee that even if you were Lu Xiong's son, you will die miserably. Li Changsheng's words made Lu Duo's original thoughts finally dispel. The guy in front of him was too evil, so he didn't dare to gamble. Aren't you afraid that my father will settle the account with you? My father is a famous crocodile in Qingzhou. Lu Duo finally couldn't help but ask. This was also something he couldn't understand. Even if the other party was a tutor invited by his father, how could he dare to make a move on him? Moreover, he seemed to lack the most basic respect for his father who could call the wind and summon the rain in Qingzhou. You can call Lu Xiong now and ask him if he dares. Does he dare? These 3 words instantly raised Li Changsheng's pretentious attitude by countless levels. Dare to ask Lu Xiong, who was known as the king of Qingzhou. If he dared, this was simply too awesome. At least at the moment, Lu Duo opened his mouth and only spat out 2 words. F***CK. Just because you're so arrogant. I, Lu Duo, admit defeat. Although I think you're bragging to dare to say such words, you're the most pretentious person I've ever seen in my life. Li Changsheng smiled. He knew that although the guy in front of him had a questioning attitude towards his words, at least the smell of gunpowder had dissipated a lot. All right, I temporarily think that you have the qualifications to be my teacher, but you have to promise me 2 conditions. Lu Duo returned to his unruly appearance. He patted the footprints on his clothes and stood up. Conditions are ass. Li Changsheng didn't hesitate to step forward and kick Lu Duo's lower abdomen. Lu Duo instantly smashed into the wall. He covered his lower abdomen and squatted down. His entire person was completely stunned. He bit his lips, and tears almost flowed out. You're being unreasonable. How can you casually hit people? You can be my student because you've accumulated good karma in your previous life. If it weren't for the 200,000 monthly salary, do you think anyone could be beaten by me? Hearing Li Chongqing's narcissistic words, Lu Duo gritted his teeth and stood up from the ground. He fiercely said, "In the future, when I can beat you, I'll definitely beat you into a pig head. Dreams are plentiful, but reality is very bony. You want to beat me with trash like you? Let me tell you, it's impossible in this life. As for the next life, there's no hope." Li Chongqing sat on the swivel chair. He stretched out his hand and spun twice on the spot. His legs were on the computer table. The dignified Li Chongqing beat up a middle school student. If this spread out, it'd be a bit disgraceful. And for him, who was used to crushing people with strength, it was really impossible to convince people with virtue and reason. Moreover, Lu Duo, this little bastard, really deserved a beating. It made Li Chongqing think of a sentence. If a child is disobedient, most of them deserve a beating. A beating would be enough. Sure enough, after a beating, under Lu Duo's fearful gaze, 6,000 yuan a day was in his hands. As Lu Xiong's son, Lu Duo carried his father's name. Since he was a child, no one dared to provoke him. So he developed an arrogant and despotic personality. Naughty children were all spoiled. Lu Duo's nature was not bad. The reason why he became like this was entirely because Lu Xiong was busy dealing with business matters every day. His wife couldn't wait to hold Lu Duo in the palm of her hand and in the mouth. When Lu Xiong realized that this couldn't go on, he had already developed Lu Duo's character. Even the 18 tutors had been angered away by Lu Duo. Lu Duo believed himself to be the great sage equal to heaven, Sun Wukong. Demons and monsters, demons and ghosts, none of them could withstand a single strike from his staff. Who would have thought that a Buddha like Li Chongqing would come? He looked like a small demon. When Lu Duo was about to beat him to death with a stick, he found that the other party was actually a Buddha and mercilessly suppressed him. The other party's fist was bigger than his. Lu Duo didn't feel that there was anything shameful about admitting defeat. He rubbed his lower abdomen, which was still a little painful, and reluctantly stood up with a limp. He couldn't help but ask Li Chongqing, whose legs were on the table, again, "Are you really not afraid that I will call my father and complain?" Until now, he still thought that Li Chongqing's words at that time were bragging. After all, his father was Lu Xiong, a figure like calling the wind and calling the rain. It was impossible for a tutor to not be afraid of his own father. Chapter 54. Teacher. Lu Duo, with a bit of fear, called out weakly, "Just call me brother." Li Chongqing took down his legs from the table. "If you have something to say, just say it. Look, while you're tutoring me, can you teach me some kung fu as well?" Lu Duo covered his hands with a flattering look. Li Chongqing's amazing strength stunned him. "This will cost extra money." Li Chongqing put the half-smoked cigarette back into his mouth and said faintly, "No problem." Lu Duo's eyes lit up. "My dad gives me tens of thousands of yuan as pocket money every month. I don't know if it's enough." Although Lu Duo was still holding a grudge against Li Chongqing for beating him up, at this moment, he was trying to please Li Chongqing. He comforted himself in his heart. "The reason why I'm willing to lower my head is not because I'm afraid of him, but because revenge is a dish best served cold. I'll wait until I learn his kung fu, then I'll beat him up." Of course, from the bottom of his heart, Lu Duo didn't have any hope. This seemingly honest person was actually extremely fierce. He was like a legendary martial arts master. When they fought for a short period of time, the disparity in fighting strength he displayed showed that he and Li Chongqing weren't on the same level. "Well, you were beaten up like this today, so I can't give you any tutoring. Tomorrow, we'll officially start. If you still want to learn kung fu, get up early. It's almost noon now, and you just got up. In the future, if you get beaten up when you go out, let alone my student, Even I can't afford to lose face with you. Hearing Li Changxing's words, Lu Duo hurriedly nodded like a chicken pecking rice. He was completely convinced by this tough tutor. There was no other way. Who told him to beat him up? After finishing the remaining half of the cigarette, Li Changsheng went down from the second floor. He saw that the nanny and the driver were looking at the stairs with their necks craned. When they saw Li Changsheng coming down, they withdrew their gaze. They probably heard the fighting on the second floor, but for some reason, they didn't go up to check. Seeing that Li Changsheng was unscathed, the nanny seemed a little surprised. The driver, on the other hand, was more concerned about his young master's condition. After all, Chunligua had already told him about Mr. Li's strength. He didn't want his young master to lack any parts in a fit of anger. If that happened, it would be difficult to report back. Under the complicated gazes of the two, Lu Duo finally appeared behind Li Changsheng. Looking at his bruised and swollen face, the nanny's eyes almost fell to the ground. On the other hand, the driver heaved a sigh of relief. Although his face was a little bruised, at least he didn't lose any parts. Mr. Li. The driver nodded at Li Changsheng with a strange look in his eyes. He could tell that Li Changsheng was different from the others. The housekeeper stood there in a daze for a while before she reacted. Just as she was about to say something, she saw the driver gently shake his head and immediately shut her mouth. After leaving the neighborhood, the driver directly sent Li Changxing back to Qingzhou University. After Li Changxing got out of the car, the driver dialed a number. "Hey boss, I've already sent that tutor back to school. How is it?" A loud voice came from the other end of the phone. "I can't see through him. He looks ordinary, but he actually beat up the young master." "Beat him up?" The other end of the phone fell into a short silence. "He's an interesting guy. Well, call him now and tell him to come again tonight. I want to see him." "Okay." Li Changsheng had just walked to the dormitory when the phone rang. After picking it up, his face showed a bit of surprise. "See me? Is it time for the final review?" After hanging up the phone, he smiled and shook his head. He didn't feel any pressure in his heart. Anyway, he took this job with the mentality of having fun. He went back to the dormitory and slept. When he woke up, it was already evening. At this time, the driver, Xiao Peng, called him and said that he was waiting for him downstairs. Li Changxing nodded and changed his clothes. At this time, Jiang Tao asked, "Changsheng, you're busier than the world's richest man. Where did you go?" Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan also looked at him curiously. In the afternoon, when Li Changsheng came back, they also wanted to ask. But when they saw him go back to the dormitory and sleep, they didn't want to disturb him. "I took a job as a tutor. The client said that he wanted to see me." "Changsheng, you're really hardworking," Jiang Tao said and gave him a thumbs up. Zhang Xiaofeng and Yang Fan next to him showed a bit of interest. "Can you find a similar job for us next time? Recently, our classmates have started to work part-time. We see them posting in their moments every day. We also want to earn some pocket money." "Okay." Li Changxing smiled and nodded. Then he went downstairs and took a car to Jinxiu Longcheng Community. Walking into the house, he saw a very dignified middle-aged man sitting on the sofa with a newspaper in his hand. When he heard the sound, he looked up and looked at Li Changsheng without leaving a trace. Then he smiled and said, "You must be Li Changsheng, right?" As he said, he pointed to the sofa. Lu Duo was sitting next to him. After Li Changsheng left, he put ice cubes on his face, but the bruises could still be seen. Since Li Changxing came in, he stared straight at Li Changxing's face. He wanted to see if this stupid guy really dared to not put his father in his eyes. He knew that his father's aura had always been very strong. His classmates were all devil incarnate. It could be seen that his father was not afraid of any of them. Unfortunately, after staring for a long time, he was disappointed in the end. Because Li Changxing didn't have any superfluous expression on his face from beginning to end. Instead, he casually sat on the side of Lu Xiong. "I invited you today because today is my son Lu Duo's birthday. I'm busy with my business and have no time to take care of the child. So, I'll be taught by you in the future. I'm paid to solve the problem for others. This is what I should do. Li Changsheng was neither servile nor overbearing. No expression could be seen on his face. Soon, the birthday cake was served, and a housekeeper made a big table of dishes. The housekeeper was from Sichuan. The taste of the dishes was a bit spicy, but they looked, smelled, and tasted good. After the meal, Lu Duo suggested, "Brotherly, today is my birthday. I asked a few classmates to go out and play. You're not much older than me. Why don't you go out and play with me?" With that, he walked to Li Changsheng's side and said in a low voice, "There are a few female classmates who are very beautiful." He winked at Li Changsheng. This, Li Changsheng was about to refuse, but Lu Xiong said, "Mr. Li, since you've taken this job, you can also regulate his words and deeds in your life and correct his mistakes. 2 hours of educational work every day, including the time to play with him. More than 2 hours. I'll pay Mr. Li an extra 1,000 yuan per hour. How about it?" "Okay." Li Changxing nodded. Since it was a job, he had no reason to refuse. "Mr. Lu, today is your son's birthday. Why don't you go out and play with him? Parents are the best teachers for children. It's good to spend more time with children." Hearing Li Changxing's words, Lu Duo and the driver Xiao Pang next to him were a little stunned. Although Lu Xiong looked amiable now, they understood that Lu Xiong had always been serious. He was swift and decisive in everything he did. He was very dignified. How about he go out and play with children? When Lu Xiong heard Li Changxing's request, his face was also shocked, but soon he smiled. "I still have some company matters to deal with. If it's still early after I'm done, I'll go out with you." When Lu Xiong's words fell, the driver and Lu Duo were a little stunned. Was this still his father who had always been dignified? You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.